We're back on the record. Case number 2020 CF 2603, State of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Let me get appearances for the state.
Dave Castro on behalf of the state. William J. for the state.
Defense.
James Owens for Ms. Boone.
County Henderson for Ms. Boone.
Ms. Boone is seated at counsel's table, wearing the same black jacket and blue blouse from this morning. We will be standing when our jury enters. She is in custody, but out of any restraints. As she is testifying first, once we bring in our jury, she will walk to the jury box and be sworn in front of the jury. State, are we ready to bring in our panel?
Yes, Your Honor. I was able to get the redactions done. I put a disc on Mr. Owens' notebook there, has the case number on it and 3 black dots and Sharpie, just so that a random way of saying what it is.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thank you for getting that done over the lunch hour. Defense, are we ready to bring in our jury?
I've got a couple of issues.
Yes.
Number one, Kevin Beck is working on.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Beck has appeared.
For the record, I'd like to make 2 points about this issue, about whether or not I can bring in evidence of prior acts, prior bad acts, prior to the overt act. And there's 2 reasons that I believe I should be allowed to do so. One is, Judge, in that 2-minute video, Sarah Boone makes a statement, "That's how I feel when you choke me." And then some moments later, "That's how I feel when you cheat on me." And she's angry at him, and she's talking to him. She's talking to him in an intoxicated state, and she's expressing her anger and why she is angry. And I ought to be able to elaborate on what that is that she's angry about as it relates to when you choke me. That's my first question.
Okay.
The second one is, Judge, on this.
Before you proceed with the second, is the second intertwined with the first?
No, I mean, it's a similar argument, but related to something else.
Okay. Response.
Judge, I don't disagree that they should be able to bring that in once they've established an overt act that is imminently dangerous to an objectively reasonable person. I believe that's the law.
Any other further arguments, sir?
Not on that issue.
Motion's denied. Court, again, is going to rely on the Supreme Court's guidance in these situations based on Holland 916 Southern 2nd 750 at 1.760 through 761.
Motion denied.
My second argument ties into what he just said about what a reasonable person would do under the circumstances facing an imminent threat, whether a reasonable person would perceive the overt act on the part of George Torres that was witnessed by Sarah Boone. Would that be perceived by someone as a imminent threat? And to some degree, you have to understand the history of George Torres and Sarah Boone. They were together 3.5 years. They were engaged, but there had been a history of violence. And from the evidence that's been presented, facing the circumstances in total, if you take what she said,
This guy's a leech. He's like a leech. He won't go away.
she became concerned when he came back from Publix with that second bottle of wine, because she knew when George Torres gets to a certain level of intoxication, he gets sad, he gets moody, and eventually he gets belligerent, and sometimes he can be violent. So she knew when he brought home that second bottle of wine that it was not going to be a good night. And she tried to keep him occupied and tried to keep his mind off of his troubles, because she knew that if he reaches a certain level and is dwelling on his hardships, that he will react to her in a violent way. So she had that state of mind with that understanding of her history and his history in his overt act, which she's going to testify to, coupled with the fact of her state of mind based on her past experiences with him in that intoxicated state and the fact that he is violent. So she was hypersensitive to danger and fear. And I think that ought to be allowed in as part of her collectively an overt act. So it was culminated by his state of intoxication coupled with his overt act created the well-founded fear for her to block the attack, to self-restrain or physically restrain George Torres in the suitcase, to actually use the bat to prevent him from getting out of the suitcase because she knew she was going to get attacked.
And the basis of the opinion of about to be attacked is predicated on the prior incidences of violence, correct? Based on
Well, there's
her
an overt
knowledge.
act committed by George Torres, but she was heightened because she knows when he gets to that level of intoxication in that scenario, and that's an issue.
So I need clarification. What is it that you're asking me to do?
For me to be able to elicit from Sarah Boone that she was concerned once that second bottle was brought, and that's why she tried to placate him over the course of the evening, and that's why she had a heightened sense that he was capable, Judge, due to his degree of intoxication, that he may act violently towards her. And the problem is, a lot of the problem is, Judge, he doesn't remember battering her the next day. That's part of the reason that she videotapes him and photographs him. She starts to document what happens so that she can show him. She loves the man. She adores the man. She wants to marry him. She wants a life with him.
She loves him so much he killed him.
She's tired of being beat on. And so that all ties into her behavior, her sense of nervousness at that point. The reason she was so confident during that 2-minute video is because she knew, okay, this is my chance. He can't get to me. I can tell him exactly what he does that bothers me, that hurts me, and how I feel.
Oh, hell
That's
no.
all tied together with then he starts to try to get out of the suitcase, and she reacts the way she does.
Response.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
We held these arguments already. The court has ruled. There are no new arguments being made. The court understands exactly what Sarah Boone, the defendant, said to Dr. Werner on October 2nd. The court knows exactly what the defendant said to Dr. Harper over the period of a number of months and years, and there was no overt act. The overt act has to be something that is objectively reasonable to cause a reasonable person to believe there's an imminent fear of great bodily harm or death. What the testimony is not that that's what has occurred, that there's her new testimony is this generalized fear, but you've already read that and you've already ruled on that. And I'll just remind the court that her previous testimony is, it's all fun and games, we're laughing, I zipped the suitcase shut, we're still both laughing, it's funny, and then the decedent says, I can't breathe, and then she flips a switch, gets angry because it reminds her of all the times before where she is asserting that the decedent made her feel like she couldn't breathe. And then that's when she starts beating and shuffling the suitcase so much that it flips over and hitting him with the bat. We've covered this ground. Aggravated assault, aggravated battery, 2 independent forcible felonies. She's committing false imprisonment. She is the initial aggressor after there being no overt act. She can't start it and then say, well, I'm in fear of retaliation, because that's what her testimony was, is once I started doing these things, once I wouldn't let him out of the suitcase, I was afraid he would come out and harm me or kill me. Well, Judge, if I pull a gun on you and I say, give me everything you own on you right now, and then you in turn pull a gun on me and say, bam, 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 and shoot and kill me, and I shoot, let me strike that. You pull a gun on me to defend yourself, and then I shoot and kill you. I can't assert self-defense. I can't say, well, Judge Kranick pulled a gun on me and I was in fear of death, because I was the initial aggressor. I was committing a forcible felony. That's the facts of this case here, according to her previous testimony. And the state concedes if she wants to change her testimony again, that's one thing, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if she testifies as she previously has, the court has already ruled there's no overt act, and you've read the transcripts. You know what she has said.
Judge, she hasn't testified. She hasn't testified. Dr. Harper's testified. Dr. Warner's testified.
They have not testified. They've given depositions.
Well, given depositions, but she hasn't testified about the act in question. She hasn't testified about the event in question. She had consultations and evaluations by Dr. Harper where they had discussions that Dr. Harper could relate in her testimony. Dr. Warner can say what was said during the evaluation. Again, both of those were not reported. There may be disputes. I disagree with his characterization of that assessment, but it's up to Sarah to tell the truth here today. She's under oath. She's under oath today.
Too bad she can't.
She's got
She
an
does.
obligation to tell the truth. If
Too bad she hasn't told the truth throughout this whole thing. All of her statements were bullshit.
To the extent that you are requesting permission to go into presumably and seemingly prior bad acts, vis-a-vis, he got the wine and I know what happens when he gets it and everything that follows from that. Those are bad acts. That is character. And the Florida Supreme Court has provided guidance and circumstances, specifically in Holland, on what needs to be done. You're attempting to provide information that the defendant was apprehensive of the victim at the time of the homicide by virtue of the wine, etc., as you've proffered. That's bad character evidence that you're going to be bringing in. Historic bad character evidence. This is what happens when he drinks. This is what happens when I don't placate him. This is the situation that I find myself in, which inevitably may dovetail into prior incidents of abuse. That's all prohibited character under 9404. And the carve out for that is if a overt act is established. It's not a subjective standard. It's an objective standard. The jury instruction 3.6F identifies it being an objective standard. And the Akendo case specifically tells us that it's an objective standard. And Akendo, the second DCA in 2023 stated the conduct of a person acting in self-defense is measured by an objective standard, but the standard must be applied to the facts and circumstances as they appeared at the time of the altercation to the one acting in self-defense. I'm going to rely on Holland. Holland is the law of the land. It is what the Supreme Court has told us to utilize. That's what I will be relying on. The overt act has to be established.
Ms. Boone, do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Anything else?
We cannot talk about any prior bad acts or anything of that nature until we talk about the actual event, the attack. Correct? You understand?
Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Anything else, State?
Okay.
Defense, anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and stand and bring in our jury.
Thank you, Susan King, for the $20 super chat. Sarah just got what she wanted. He's dead. CK, thank you for becoming a new member. Thank you for that. Schmitty, thank you for the super love. I appreciate it. Let's listen in as the jury comes in. This is what we've all been waiting for. The circus has begun. That's the Sarah Boone circus. Lying murderer. I'm calling it as I see it. She murdered Mr. Torres. George Torres should still be alive today if she had mercy and opened that suitcase. So as far as I'm concerned, she can rot. Still smirking. The nerve.
State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you recognize our jury? All right, thank you. Y'all can be seated. Members of the jury, after seated and comfortable, if you could raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during the break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. With that, state has rested. The defense is going to put on a case. Defense, Mr. Owens, you can call your first witness.
The defense would call Sarah Boone.
Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Please do swear or affirm that the I do.
All right, ma'am, you could take a seat. And if you could, state and spell your name for the record for us.
Sarah Boone, 101077.
And could you spell your name?
SARAHBOONE.
All right, thank you very much. Sir, you may inquire.
Ms. Boone, would you please tell the jury where you were born and raised?
Atlanta, Georgia.
You were born in Atlanta?
I was born in Atlanta.
And how long did you stay in Atlanta before you moved here to Florida?
I was 3 years old, 3 or 4.
Okay. And from that time, y'all moved, you and your family, your mother and father, moved to Orlando?
And my grandparents.
Okay. Y'all all moved down from Atlanta down to Orlando?
Yes, and my 2 brothers.
Okay. And were you raised here essentially from that time on?
Yes,
And you resided here in Orange County, Florida that entire time?
yes,
And where did you go to high school here locally?
I did.
Where did you go to high school?
Edgewater.
Okay. And tell the jury, how old were you when you graduated?
I was 18 years old.
Now, I know you lost your mother and father.
Overruled.
I know you lost your mother and father in your teens and in your 20s. Is that true?
I lost my grandfather when I was a sophomore in high school, and I lost my father when I was a senior. And then my mother passed away a few years after that, and then my grandmother passed away after my mother died.
All right, so you were in your 20s when all that was going on?
Yes,
Okay. And then at some point in your 20s, you met Brian Boone?
I did, yes.
All right. And how long did y'all date before you married?
A good handful of years. I helped my family with paying mortgage and bills for the house since my father had passed away and my grandfather. So
So you worked outside the home?
I did.
Okay. Can you tell the jury when you said you and Brian Boone dated for a while? Do you remember when y'all married?
I do.
Could you tell the jury when y'all were married?
The year?
Yeah.
You
remember the date?
It happened to be, yes, that after my mother passed away, that he had waited to ask me to marry him because he knew it would be, I would,
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
Just answer the question if you can, Ms. Boone. Are you a little bit nervous?
a little bit.
Okay. Well, just tell the jury if you remember the date that you and Brian Boone married.
August 21st, 2004.
Okay. And had y'all lived with each other for a short time before that?
Short time.
Yes. Okay. After you married, how long was it before y'all had any children?
Gosh, 6 years?
Okay. And y'all have one son.
Yes,
What's his name?
Lucas.
And how old is Lucas now?
Lucas will be 14 years old on the 28th.
28th of this month?
Yes.
So you and Brian were married and y'all lived in Orange County. How long were y'all married?
For 13 years.
All right. And y'all divorced?
Yes,
And as part of the divorce, were y'all to share custody of your son?
yes,
And so y'all would split days. Would that be fair to say?
yes.
At some time after you and Brian split up, did you meet George Torres?
Yes.
All right. Could you tell the jury how you met George Torres?
I met George when I decided to buck up, I guess, and was tired of trying to patch things up with my ex-husband. And I decided to go one day for a walk across the street and go have a beer by myself and sit and people watch just to get out of my house and a change of scenery.
All right. Now is this your apartment?
No, this is the marital home.
Okay. Where is that marital home?
Winter Park?
You're no longer living in that marital home?
No,
Who lives in the marital home?
no one. It has been sold.
Okay. So you met George Torres before you got the apartment.
Yes,
Okay. And you met him at a bar across the street from the marital home?
yes, we had a mutual friend there.
Were you introduced?
Yes.
All right. How did you and George get along when y'all first met?
Very well. It was, it was strange how quickly we hit things off and had so much in common. And I never thought that he would be interested in someone like me. And I just couldn't believe that he was actually interested in me and said a lot of nice things. And 1 hour ended up being 4 hours from when we had first met. And then we would always have something to talk about.
Why couldn't you believe that he would be interested in you?
He was very handsome. He was very funny. He was smart, and I would show up in workout clothes and disheveled hair, and I guess I kind of felt broken from being in the process of the divorce that he knew about. But then one of the things that we could relate also was the fact that he was here in Florida because he had just been divorced from his second wife. So that was another topic that he and I could compare notes on.
So eventually the divorce was settled. Did you get your own place?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that after you, at first you lived in your parents' home, correct?
Yes, until I was married.
And then you moved directly in with Brian,
Yes.
and then y'all lived in the marital home, correct?
Yes.
And then you got this apartment.
Yes.
So that was the first time in your life that you actually had your own place.
Yes.
And what was the address?
4748 France Court, apartment number 3.
And what city is that in?
It's in Winter Park.
How far is that from here?
20 minutes.
Okay. So you got that apartment, and initially were you by yourself?
No.
All right, tell the jury.
In the almost year, about 10 months of separation from Brian, my ex-husband, that is the time when I met George. And my ex-husband was trying to buy me out or force me out of our marital home, and I needed to find somewhere to live. And
So did you and George agree to rent the apartment?
yes, I needed extra income. We could not afford it just on my own.
You were receiving some income from the marriage settlement, were you not?
Yes.
So you did have a consistent monthly income coming in from the marriage settlement,
For the most part, yes.
but you needed more to live.
Yes, to pay the bills and for rent.
So did you and George have some agreement?
We did.
All right, what was the agreement?
The agreement was that if I decided for he and I to live with one another, because it would be under my name, that he would help with the monthly bills and on a regular basis where it wouldn't be something that I would have to argue with him about. It would just be an automatic. Make sure that everything's paid first, and then from there, hopefully have some fun with it.
Okay. So I understand from that point on, would it be fair to say that y'all saw each other on and off for about the next 3.5 years?
No, I would consider us a couple.
Okay.
At some point, he asked me to marry him.
Okay. But y'all did have times where he left and went to live with his parents.
Yes,
Is that fair?
yes,
And there were times where there was an understanding that y'all were going to break up.
multiple times.
Okay. All right. So again, on again, off again.
Yes, this was actually before we had our apartment. That was, I guess, our dating phase.
Okay. So y'all were together for 3.5 years. Is that fair?
Yes,
And y'all had actually agreed to marry?
he had asked me yes a couple of times to marry him, and one time I agreed to yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get directly to the date of this event so that the jury can hear your testimony. All right. So tell us, I believe the date is February the 23rd of 2020. Explain to the jury that whole day from the time y'all got up, the whole thing.
Approach.
This is,
Objections overruled for now.
Now, Ms. Boone, let's just, instead of one long speech, let me break you up over the course of the day. So do you remember the date of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes,
Do you remember getting up?
yes.
All right, just tell the jury about that morning, what y'all did that morning, what you and George, you and George spent the night together at the apartment.
Yes, at that point, he was living there.
Yes. So y'all slept in the bed together upstairs, February. So you would have gotten up, y'all would have gotten up that morning, February 23rd of 2020.
Yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when y'all got up.
He was already downstairs and I went downstairs and he wanted to start the day off by drinking because it was a day off from his job. And I talked him into cleaning and tidying up the house for a sense of accomplishment. So that is what we did for however long that it took. So we did tidy up the house and got everything in order, and it was kind of a reward, I guess, to be able to sit and enjoy ourselves and sit on the back porch.
All right, what do you mean by cleaning up the house? What did y'all do?
We swept and mopped. We folded some of the laundry. I know that we did the dishes, emptied the dishwasher, just general run-of-the-mill tidying up.
And did you have your son coming the next day?
Yes, that was one of the reasons why we were able to do that.
What was the arrangement you had in terms of the next day would have been your day to pick up your son from school?
Yes,
What time would you pick Lucas up from school the next day?
I believe his school ended at 3:00.
So you would have been responsible to pick him up and he would be spending the night with you that night.
Yes,
So you wanted to have the house nice and clean.
yes,
How many bedrooms are in the home?
2.
And you and George had one bedroom?
Yes,
And who had the other?
Lucas.
All right. Is that exclusively his bedroom?
Yes,
All right. So how long would it have taken y'all that morning to clean?
I don't really remember what time we woke up, but maybe a good 2, maybe 3 hours.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you and George both smoked cigarettes?
Yes,
And would it be fair to say that you and George both drink alcohol?
yes,
So at some point, y'all finished your chores,
yes,
right? And then y'all were going to enjoy the day.
yes.
All right. What was the plan?
It was just kind of, we've got the day to ourselves. Let's just kind of relax and go with the flow.
Did y'all make a decision that y'all were going to start drinking?
Yes, we had a half of a bottle that was already in the refrigerator, and I did not want to go out afterwards. I, again, had Lucas coming the next day, so we went over to Publix to purchase another bottle of wine so we could not have to go out later on that evening.
Now, you were here in court when the state played the video of you two and the Publix purchasing the bottle of wine.
Yes,
Is that what you're referring to here with the jury right now?
yes,
Okay. And that was around noonish?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Had y'all started drinking the leftover bottle before going to the Publix?
No.
Okay. So y'all bought a bottle of wine?
Yes,
All right. And how did y'all get to Publix?
my car.
How far is Publix from your apartment?
5 minutes.
How would you get there from your apartment?
What do you mean?
Did you have to go across any major highways or is it right there?
You just come out of our apartment complex and you do a little U-turn and then you come up and it's right in that complex.
But it's easier to drive than to walk.
Yes,
I know at some times y'all would simply need cigarettes and it was in walking distance. Can you tell the jury about that?
yes. There was a AutoZone convenience store with in the same, I guess, parking lot of our townhome or complex. And it was just a straight shot from our apartment to a back gate and you could get right into the convenience store from right there.
But y'all went over to get that bottle of wine around noonish. And how did you took your car?
Yes,
Did George have a vehicle?
we did not.
And how did you pay for the wine?
with my debit card.
And then y'all came back and started drinking?
Yes.
Okay, tell us what you did when you got back from the Publix.
Just went on the back porch where we usually spend our time because we're able to smoke cigarettes outside as opposed to inside. And
Is cigarette smoking not allowed indoors?
it is not.
Okay. Do you have pets?
Yes, I do.
Well, did you have pets?
I did, yes.
Okay. Were they with y'all there that day?
Yes, my dogs were with me all the time when I was there.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 2,
And just what are their names?
Penny and Tess.
And what is the breed?
They are red Boston Terriers.
And are they both disabled?
Yes, Penny is blind and Tef is deaf.
So when y'all went out to smoke on the back porch and drink, I assume as well, correct?
Yes.
Did y'all take the dogs out?
Oh, yes.
All right. Is there a place for them to do their business out there?
Yes, I extended our back porch for them to have a little bit of area as opposed to going from a large backyard from my marital home to our little townhome. And they would come out there and do their business, and I would open the gate and then walk them in the back part of our apartment.
So you and George were just going to enjoy the day together?
Correct.
Is it fair to say y'all don't have a lot of money?
Yes.
And so y'all were going to do something there in the home? Y'all weren't going out for dinner or?
Yes, I would consider us homebodies as opposed to going out and partying and doing this and that.
Okay. And how long do you think y'all were out that afternoon outside?
A few hours.
All right. Could you tell the jury what y'all did during that time?
We have a dartboard that's out there, and we just had drinks, and we're just really enjoying each other's company and talking about, things upcoming. We both were looking for a job and just kind of, I guess, encouraging and supporting and planning. And
Well, now you said he had a job. Was he looking for a job, a second job?
no, the job that he had was very unstable, and at that,
So he was looking for something new.
yes, at that time, yes.
Okay. And so during that 2 or 3 hours, would it be fair to say that y'all drank the bottle?
Yes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that y'all were feeling the effects of the alcohol?
Yes,
Okay. At some point, who made the decision to come in?
I did.
Okay. Why did you want to come in?
I felt that George needed a change of scenery.
Okay. So y'all came in and then did y'all do anything else before he left again? Were y'all doing anything? I know y'all did some arts and crafts. What did y'all do? At some point, he went to get another bottle at Publix.
Yes, I believe it was after it was right before I believe that we had gone inside. Because he called his daughters. I was trying to encourage him to call his family.
Okay, now where are his daughters?
His 2 daughters are located in Pennsylvania,
And what are their names?
Anna and Destiny.
And how old are they?
I believe that Anna is in her 30s and Destiny may be in her early 20s.
All right. Does he have any more children?
Yes, he has a son.
And what is his son?
He is in Pennsylvania also.
So part of that afternoon is y'all came in to call relatives, call family.
No, I had him call outside, just trying to, I guess, boost the mood. And the first daughter didn't answer, and I don't remember the reason I didn't speak to the second one. I believe he did. It was just for a moment.
All right, now whose phone y'all using?
My phone.
All right. And is that common for y'all to use for y'all to share that phone?
It was because George said that he didn't have a phone, so it would either be lost or given to him by his mother. So I didn't know he had a cell phone, so we would use my phone.
So it was primarily your phone.
Yes,
Okay. And you took a lot of photographs that were on that phone,
yes,
videotapes,
yes,
text messages,
yes.
phone call.
He and I both on the phone calls.
So he would use it as well.
Yes,
And that phone, is that the one that was seized in this case?
yes,
All right, so y'all called his daughters, and then during that phone call period, did y'all also call his brother?
yes.
Okay, and which brother was that?
John,
Or now, how many brothers and sisters does George have?
I'm gonna list them if that's okay.
Okay,
It's John, Pharrell, Isaac, Mo, and his sister.
okay. And do they all live here in Florida?
Yes,
Are they close by?
as far as I know, yes.
What about his parents?
Yes,
They live here as well?
yes,
But his ex-wives and his children live up in Philadelphia?
yes,
So you called the girls, then you called, or George called his brother.
yes.
Was that conversation that long?
No, it was not.
And then after that phone call, were y'all inside by this time?
Yes, at this point, I believe that it was a good time to get a change of scenery. So I thought George would be better off inside, and frankly, I didn't want to be outside any longer either.
Okay. So just to get an idea, about this time is when he went to get the second bottle, or did y'all stay inside for a while before he left?
No, from what I recall, I thought the day was over and it was going to be, get ready for the evening, for the day. What do you want for dinner? You know, do you have an extra load of laundry that you need to throw in, kind of thing? And that was my understanding. And
This was about 5-ish or something?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. At some point during that time period, did George go to Publix again?
Yes, I thought he was going to be walking to the convenience store, but apparently, when he returned, he had gone across the street with my car and my debit card to buy another bottle of wine.
What was your understanding of where he was going?
To the convenience store, walking,
For what?
cigarettes.
And you learned obviously that he came back and you learned that he'd used your vehicle
Yes,
and he'd used your debit card
yes,
and he'd brought back a bottle of wine from Publix.
right,
And you saw the Publix video of that.
yes.
So he comes back with the other bottle of wine, and did he want you to drink with him?
It was expected, yes.
Yes. And you agreed to consume the second bottle with him.
Yes.
So over the course of that evening, drinking the wine, what did y'all do for time-wise? Watch a movie, music, just kind of tell the jury what you remember. I know it's obviously been a while, but
It was kind of a regular thing where I would always try to come up with entertaining activities for George, and I bought a puzzle. We started off at one point doing a smaller puzzle, and then we did that very quickly. So then I purchased a larger puzzle, and I believe it was 1,000 pieces. So I thought to get his mind off of things and to focus on something, it would be smart for us to do the puzzle. So for however long that took, we finished the puzzle. So that was one.
did you every piece was finished or was it?
Every piece was finished. It was strange that we couldn't find one piece, and we thought it was funny that it was like in like the perfect place on there. But yes, every one but one piece.
All right, after the puzzle, what did y'all do?
I decided to continue to maintain and focus him, and I have a bunch of paints that I used of my son's that his grandmother bought him. It's a very big art wooden box, and it's got pastels, pencils, paint, any kind of whatever. And he and I were very much into art. And with this resource, it got him very interested in being more creative.
How long have you been into art?
Ever since I can remember. As a child,
You like to draw?
I like to do anything artistic.
And I know, we saw some of the pictures of your apartment, but it looks like there was pictures and artwork up. Is that all your work and George's work?
The majority of it, yes, are belongings from my home. And then also some of George's, yes, on the wall.
Was he pretty good at art as well?
Yes,
All right, so you both enjoyed doing that.
very much.
So y'all got out Lucas's art set. What did y'all do with that?
We were just, I guess, doodling, whatever. I would always tell him that everything that you make is a masterpiece. So just let loose and just let it go. And we would just paint and drink, yes, and listen to music sometimes, and yes.
Now with the dogs, did y'all get the dogs involved?
Oh, yes, my dogs follow me everywhere, yes.
Was there some dancing going on with the dogs?
Yes, after we had completed the puzzle and I guess we're painted out, I thought that it might be a good point for us to maybe listen to some music. And the music that George listens to is it's very fractious to me, and it was definitely not going to lighten the mood. So we ended up finding some channel on the radio, and he was feeling it. And then we ended up, my one dog gets very active and was dancing with us, and we were just having a good time listening to music.
And I guess it's getting pretty late in the evening.
Yes,
Anything else I've missed?
I don't believe so.
All right. So tell us where y'all ended up before you started the game of hide and seek.
We were there. I couldn't think of anything else possibly that I had to continue entertainment. But I remember sitting at the end of the couch and him sitting in one of my son's chairs that was in the living room, and just kind of doing this. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, I very much would like to go to sleep.
Had y'all finished off the that bottle that he had bought?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Bless you.
Would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more y'all consumed?
Yes,
All right. And would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more you consumed, the more effects you felt from the alcohol?
of course, yes.
Both of you.
Yes.
So you would agree, would you not, that at the time y'all were trying to figure out something to do and you put your head on the couch, that would it be fair to say that y'all were intoxicated?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened.
At one point, I guess he knew that I couldn't come up with anything else, tapped me on my knee and said, "You're it." So from there, I ran up the stairs and hid into our shower, just waiting for him to find me so we could hopefully go to sleep soon at some point. And
Now, your shower, is it a tub or just a walk-in?
it's a tub, but it's in the master bedroom, and you have to go all the way upstairs. You have to go in the bedroom, and then you have to go into the bathroom part, and then there's the shower part.
So did you lay down in the tub?
At one point, yes, I was.
So you were hiding.
I was trying.
Okay. And did you believe that he was going to come try to find you?
Yes,
Did you wait?
yes, for quite some time.
All right. Then what did you decide to do?
That I decided that I need to go to sleep. I'm picking my son up the next day, and we need to start wrapping up the evening. And I went downstairs to find where he was.
And what I think the jury has seen pictures of your, would you call it an apartment or
It's considered a townhome.
a townhome? So you walk down the stairs, right?
Mhm.
And at the bottom of the stairs is a bookshelf here?
Yes, at the very end of it, yes.
Okay. So you walk down the stairs and You turn and look in the living room. What did you see?
I don't even think I made it all the way down the stairwell because I was just looking for him as soon as I could to hopefully go upstairs as soon as we could. And I looked over and I saw him settling himself in the suitcase.
All right, tell us about the suitcase. How long, is it an older suitcase?
Yes,
Whose suitcase was it?
this is George's suitcase.
All right, and did he use it for traveling back and forth to Philly?
Yes, I had recently taken him on a trip to go see his children in Pennsylvania, who he hasn't seen in years. And we took that with us. And because of how dilapidated it was, how broken it was, in the end, after that trip, we decided that we would donate it.
All right, and I understand y'all kept the suitcase upstairs.
Yes,
How long did y'all keep it upstairs?
since we had moved in.
Is there a closet up there you kept it in?
Yes, it was in the master closet, the master bedroom closet, all the way in the back because of the size of it, and there was nowhere to put it, so it's all the way in the back.
So when did y'all decide to move it down from upstairs to downstairs? Was it that day or sometime earlier?
No, it was maybe a week or so prior.
Okay. And so what, y'all were gonna donate that to Goodwill or?
Yes, we were going to do, I guess, a spring cleaning. Anyone who has children understands that they grow quickly, and there was a lot of clothes that I needed to go through of my sons, and then also from George and I moving in and just kind of putting everything in there, at one point where we just needed to actually go through it and organize it and get things more in order.
So is that the reason it was downstairs? You were gonna donate it and a bunch of things that you were gonna put inside of it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So it'd been down there a week, so it was already down there.
Yes, George brought it down.
Okay. So you said that you got down there, you're looking for him, you see him settling into the suitcase.
Yes.
What did you do?
In my head, I said, oh man, we're obviously not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. And I walked over and he was trying to get himself flat, so I couldn't tell that he was in there. And then,
Now, let me stop you there. The suitcase, is it the suitcase over here in the
yes,
box? You've seen it, you saw it.
yes,
It's a pretty big suitcase.
yes.
How big is George?
George was my height.
How
And
tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
Okay. And how much did George weigh?
I thought it was 100 pounds.
Okay. And how much did you weigh?
I was 98 pounds.
All right. Do you agree you put on some weight?
Since I've been incarcerated, yes.
Well, at the time, though, y'all were pretty skinny.
Yes,
So from the pictures, it looks like y'all were both pretty thin.
yes,
All right. So because of his thinness, is that how? And he's a small man.
yes,
Okay. So he was able to get in the suitcase on his own.
yes.
Did he willingly get in the suitcase?
He was already in there.
Okay. When you got to him, did he see you?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what happened.
I mean, I zipped him up. We thought it was funny. And we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
All right. So what happened then?
From there, it was just, we were laughing about it. And it was just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. And then I kind of moved it around a little bit with him in the suitcase still. It was still funny that he was still in the suitcase. Just, I think he and I were just kind of, couldn't believe that he could fit in the suitcase.
Did you eventually close the top?
Yes, the top was already closed. As he was settling himself in there, that's how I knew he was in there, was because the top was kind of flopping a little bit.
Okay. So he had got in there to hide and he pulled the top
Yes,
on top of it, but you could tell he was in there.
yes,
You saw him right away.
yes,
All right. So at some point, did you zip him up? Did
yes,
you? And what was he saying or doing when you were zipping him up?
I just thought it was funny.
Were you both laughing?
Yes.
And so you zipped him up. Were y'all still laughing once you zipped him up?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened then.
From there, I moved the suitcase around a couple of times, just kind of on the wheels and moved it around. And at that point, it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it.
All right, now eventually, did you go sit down on the couch and get your phone?
Yes.
Did I miss something?
Well, the suitcase had, for me moving it around was flopped over. So while it was like that, I thought at that point I had a moment to, I guess, take the time to talk to him while I guess he was not able to get out for a moment.
So you flipped it. You got it on the top, right?
Yeah.
It gets in, but at some point you flip it over so the zipper is on the bottom.
Well, it was just kind of how I was moving it around that it ended up kind of flopping. So
It was upside down.
yes,
So after you did that, what did you do?
that's when I went over and decided to videotape to just see the, I guess the jest in it for him to understand that right now I feel safe and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to do.
And you were intoxicated,
Yes.
and you would agree that you said some things you should not have,
Yes.
but you realized he could not get out and get at you. Is that fair?
At that moment, yes.
So it goes on for about 10 minutes.
Yes.
You heard it here today, did you not?
Yes.
You heard his voice as he was speaking from the suitcase.
Yes.
That was his voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
And you heard your voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
That was your voice.
Yes.
All those things said by the man were said by George in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
All the words said by the female were said by you in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
Were you intending on showing him the video the next day?
Yes.
At the time or the next day, is it fair to say you don't even remember videotaping?
I do not.
So from what you can tell from watching it, did that refresh your memory about that event?
It did.
Why did you say all that?
Mind blowing, ladies and gentlemen, what we're listening to here. She basically admitted to zipping up the case. What about the calls for George asking her to unzip it? Sarah, I can't breathe. Sarah, I can't breathe. What about that? She ignored it. Sarah, that's my name. Don't wear it out. Get the fuck out of here. Bury her in a suitcase under the jail. That's my sentence. Eye for an eye, ladies and gentlemen. She needs to be put down. It's too bad the DP wasn't on the table here. She is evil, monster, smirking, staring at the jury. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what we're hearing. The defense and the prosecution are up at a sidebar arguing probably some of this testimony or some of the line of questioning. We definitely haven't heard it all. This is going to get so interesting when the district attorney gets his shot at her, and DA William J., he's going to have a lot to work with here. So, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and vote in the poll. We asked in the poll some cool questions. So make sure you take a look at the poll.
All right, I'm talking about just the 2-minute video part that was recorded. Could you just tell the jury what you were feeling, what your feelings were at the time, and then explain that to the jury? You mentioned, you talked about it before. You said he was in that confined space and it was my chance, but is that, you want to elaborate on that, or?
Sure. I want you all to know that the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
All right, well, I understand that. Okay, I understand that. But would it be fair to say that you had some anger at that point?
I did.
Would it be fair to say that you wanted to tell him off to some degree?
I just wanted, yes, for him to have a better understanding, which was the whole point of the videos and documentation prior.
And you could tell that he was uncomfortable.
I'm guessing.
And did you want him to feel some uncomfort?
I did.
Okay. Now, at some point, you turned off the video.
Yes.
And then we saw a second video, which was approximately 11 minutes later. And you've seen that video. It was played to the jury. It was 22 seconds long.
Yes.
And I don't think you speak in that video. You hear Jorge say Sarah one time.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So between the 2-minute video and the 22-second video is an 11-minute period. Would you tell the jury what happened?
We continued to, I guess, speak to one another, and his tone changed, and I knew the tone, and we ended up, I guess, arguing back and forth with one another, and it was the things that he was saying very much frightened me, and cursing at me and threatening me. And
Did he want you to let him out of the suitcase?
I'm sure so.
Okay. Go ahead, tell the jury.
And it just got very heated very quickly, and he continued to push on the suitcase. And my fear was that he was going to break out of the suitcase, knowing that it was a broken suitcase. And his hand started to come through. His hand started to come through this way. And so I shook the suitcase. Trying to get his hand to go back in, shaking it, and telling him that, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this to me. Please stop doing this to me.
So his hand actually got out of the suitcase.
Yes.
And you went to the suitcase
Yes.
and shook it.
Yes.
Did that force his hand to go back in?
No.
So you're shaking it. Were you shaking it to try to get the suitcase, his hand back in?
Yes.
How long did you shake it?
I don't know.
But his hand was still out.
Yes.
Was he trying to get out?
Forcefully, yes.
Was he angry at you?
Yes.
Were you in fear?
Always.
If he would have gotten out of the suitcase, what would he have done to you?
Like he used to tell me, he probably would have made me unrecognizable, or I would have lost my life.
Did you lose the grip on the suitcase?
Yes.
Where was the bat in relation to the suitcase?
It was leaning up against the dining room table, right there.
How far was the bat from the suitcase?
3 feet, 2 feet.
Was his hand still out of the suitcase?
Yes,
And was he getting out of the suitcase?
he very much was trying, yes.
And so what did you do?
For the split second reaction that I had, I happened to see that and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
Did you hit the outside part of his hand?
Yes,
We've seen the photographs of his left hand. Did you cause the bruising there?
I'm guessing yes.
Now, you've seen the bat. It's a youth bat.
Yes, I bought it for my son.
Is this the bat you used?
Yes,
And you said you poked him with it?
yes, I kind of pushed, like I held it with the skinny part here and then
So grip here.
prodded at it. Yes,
You grabbed it with both hands here,
yes,
and then the barrel of the bat, the big part of the bat is here.
correct.
And you thrusted it into the different areas of the suitcase?
I started with his hand and his hand, he was still trying to get out. He was still trying to do that. So I started to push on the suitcase around it, hoping to have his hand retract and go back inside.
You made those injuries.
I did,
We've seen the photographs.
yes,
We see the bruising. Is that from that bat?
yes.
Eventually, did his hand go back inside from you doing?
Yes, finally, he had subsided and retracted his hand.
So in your mind, did you prevent him from attacking you?
Absolutely. Split second decision.
Now, once he retracted his hand, do you remember zipping it up some, or what did you do in relation? Because he was upside down, was he not, at that point?
Yes,
At some point, you flipped him back up.
I did.
Tell how that happened.
He wasn't cursing. He wasn't threatening. His hand was inside foremost.
He was
no
begging for his
attempt
life.
to
He was
break through
begging.
the suitcase. So I felt safe enough to turn it back over. It wasn't happening anymore.
You went back to the video and the couch,
I did, yes.
and we saw the second video,
Yes,
the 22-second, and he's right side up again,
yes,
and you hear him say, "Sarah."
yes.
Had you left enough room for him to get out? Zipper to zipper.
Yes, that's how his hand was trying.
That suitcase has 2 zippers, doesn't it? And they meet at various places along the line.
Correct.
How much room, when you flipped it over, how much room was between zipper to zipper?
I don't know specifically. I mean, it was enough to where his hand was coming out.
After you had hit him with the bat, was he not trying to get out anymore?
No,
Did you believe that he could breathe in there?
yes,
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
no, at all.
Were you trying to kill him?
Never.
Did you want to kill him?
I did not.
Then why the fuck didn't you let him out?
Did you walk upstairs?
I did, yes.
Why didn't you let him out before you walked upstairs? Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
As long as he was in the suitcase, he couldn't harm her.
Correct.
When he's, did you want him to calm down?
Yes, I wanted him to stop being angry because I know what it is for him to be angry.
You went upstairs. Where were the dogs?
The dogs ran upstairs with me.
And where did they go?
On the bed.
Did you have the phone with you?
Yes,
I know at some point you called your husband Brian, did you not?
I did.
Do you recall how long that conversation was?
Not very long.
Can you recall what was said?
I don't remember exactly. No, I don't.
Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. This is going to get really
Ms.
good.
Boone, Sarah Boone, you said that when he was in the suitcase, he was threatening you. Can you tell the jury what he was saying?
I don't know. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
But he was going to fucking end me. And that's what made me ask him please to stop doing what he's doing to me. That he was going to, I'm guessing, try his best that night to probably take my life.
But what the threat you heard was
He's going to
say the
fucking
word.
end me.
Excuse me?
Fucking end me.
End you?
Yes.
One more.
Yes, sir.
He was begging to get let out. He wasn't saying he was going to kill her. He never said, I'm going to fucking kill you on the recording. But because there's no recording of it, she's making it up.
Yes.
Because there's no recording of that, she's left to make that up because a dead person can't speak up for himself. So she is so full of shit. And this story, this is why I could never be a defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney, because this story is so ridiculous that she was in fear of him. We heard that recording of how she was mocking him. She was making a joke of what he was, the predicament he was in. There was no fear in her voice. She was like, that's my name. Don't wear it out. If she was in fear of her life, she wouldn't be talking to him like that. She made it seem like she retreated upstairs to the bedroom to escape a man locked in a suitcase by herself. When she made that testimony to the police on the scene, she made it seem like, oh, we were playing an innocent game of hide and seek. She didn't say to police, he was going to kill me. I was in fear of my life. He came after me. It's funny how the story changes once a defense attorney gets involved and once you have time to figure out a
All right, members
defense.
of the jury.
I call
it is
bullshit.
2:14. I have a matter that I have to discuss with counsel at this point in time outside of your presence. So I'm going to ask you to retire to the deliberation room. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible. Again, similar instruction that I've given you. Please do not conduct any independent investigation or research as the person, places, things, or charge involved, and do not have any discussions amongst yourselves or anyone else about those things. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible. Thank you.
That's what's so nauseating about this whole thing is that we all saw the body cam footage of the day that this happened and how she was saying, oh my God, I fell asleep. It's terrible what happened. She didn't say to the police he was trying to kill me. How come she is now? Because there's no one there. The person The person she killed is dead, right? The person she killed cannot talk.
Y'all may be seated. Thank you.
Let's hear this now.
State, you can proceed with any argument at this point in time.
Judge, I believe that's pretty close to what we already knew from the deposition testimony, from the doctors relaying what she said for the proffer. What we have here is testimony from the defendant. Her timeline is she comes downstairs after having gone up to the shower and hiding, laying down, after being declared to be it. She comes back downstairs, and before she gets back to the bottom of the stairwell, she can see that the victim is in the suitcase trying to get flat because the lid is flopping and he's not hidden just yet. And so she comes over, and I believe she testified she was moving it around before actually zipping the lid shut, but moving it around, everybody's laughing. It's all fun and games still. And then she zips it, and it's still fun and games, and everybody's laughing. And then at this point, she testifies that this is now her opportunity to get on her pulpit to express her true feelings about everything. And that's when she sits down on the couch and opens up her phone device and begins recording what later turns out to be IMG _1062.movie at 11:12:45 for 2 minutes and 3 seconds. During this period of time, the decedent is expressing meekly that he can't breathe. The only time he ever curses at her is, Sarah, I can't fucking breathe. Babe, I can't fucking breathe. He is demonstrating under the law that he is in fear of losing his life. She has committed an aggravated assault. She has committed false imprisonment.
100%.
She was the initial aggressor.
100%.
No overt act to justify these actions that she took against her boyfriend. She then goes on to say that during this period of time between the end of the movie at 11:14:48 seconds and before the next one starts at 11:23, that it's now at this time, while he's still constrained and clearly unable to get out under his own power despite having his hand out, she begins beating him with a bat, poking his hands, poking the suitcase with a deadly weapon. A bat is used for baseball, but it can also be used to harm another person. And according to the medical examiner's testimony, there was great harm caused to him, deep ecchymosis bruises.
A bat is a deadly weapon. It could kill somebody.
Start to do this out of fear, like the analogy I gave earlier. If I pull a gun to rob you, Judge, and you pull a gun, I can't shoot you in self-defense. She started this. She started this. There was no overt act. And therefore, we're asking for you to prevent, under the case law, any prior instances of violence, any reputation evidence, and any battered spouse syndrome evidence, because that's simply just what the case ended up being. Thank you.
Response.
Judge, this was a game by two intoxicated people.
Bullshit.
People are drunk and intoxicated. They do silly and stupid things. The evidence is uncontroverted that George Torres willingly, by his own choice, elected to hide in the suitcase. By their interaction between the two of them, giggling and laughing at each other, he consented to her zipping up the suitcase. And the playful nature of what was going on during those few minutes prior to the video. When the video is turned on, there's a 2-minute period where they're talking. He's saying, I need to get out. I can't breathe. She's not taking him seriously. As you've seen from the videos, I thought it was the boy crying wolf.
She was mocking him.
She did not appreciate the fact that he could be actually having trouble breathing.
Bullshit. She was mocking
This
him.
was a chance for him to be heard by her about how she felt about some things involving their relationship. A short time later, the video was turned off, and then that period has been testified to by my client. And that period is uncontributed. That's a second period of time. We've got that time for the video. We got the 11 minutes. We got the 22 seconds. And there's no video. There's no audio. There's no eyewitness. There's nothing but Sarah Boone's testimony. And she's testified here today that they had words. There were threats. He got his hand out of the suitcase. She knew by the threats and him getting his hand out of the suitcase that he was about to get out of the suitcase and he was going to hurt her. A reasonable person under that scenario would believe she was about to be harmed. She was an imminent threat of harm. She blocked that attack by grabbing the bat, hitting his hand. When that didn't work, she started poking him with the bat in the suitcase. Eventually, she poked him several times. He put his hand inside the suitcase.
How could he attack her from inside the suitcase? That is ridiculous.
Going to do that any further. She flipped him over right side up. She still had a fear, knowing that if he got out, she would be harmed. He would beat her up.
Bullshit.
She went upstairs. That is an overt act based on the discussions, coupled with the fact that he threatened her using the word, "I'm going to fucking end it for you," or some words to that effect. I don't remember her exact words, just before she went upstairs while he was still in the suitcase. If she would have let him out, and this is now this is an event involving an omission, failure to act, failure to unzip him at that point before she went upstairs. The failure to act, the failure to unzip, which would have let him out, which would have created a situation that she believed was imminent bodily harm to herself. And I guess I'll get a couple of examples. Let's say that a police officer is called to a scene and the only thing he hears is there is a suspect and the suspect may be armed. So of course the officer pulls out his revolver and he's walking around. Well, then eventually he finds the suspect and the suspect reaches for his waist. The officer doesn't see the gun, but the officer sees the movement to the waist. The officer fires and shoots the suspect. The officer is justified because there's an immediate threat of harm. The officer has to react instinctively. There's no time to think. Similar to the actions that Sarah Boone had to take. Another example, you're in a bar with your buddies and you've had something to drink and another group has had something to drink and one of your buddies gets into an argument with one of the buddies on the other party. And one of your friends, seeing that it's being escalated and the guy that's arguing with your buddy is aggressive, more aggressive than your buddy is. Your buddy's trying to settle the thing, but this other individual, maybe he's had too much to drink and he's more aggressive. So you go around behind this individual, and before he's able to strike your buddy, you grab him, you lock him up. That's physical restraint to block an attack. Or you grab him by the neck and you choke him. Physical restraint to block an attack. That's what she was doing with the suitcase. If she let him out of the suitcase, she was going to be harmed based on him trying to get out with his hand, based on the threats he made while he had his hand out, and based on the threats he made while he had his hand inside just before she went upstairs.
Bullshit.
Thank you. Court's going to re-review all the case law that it's obtained in its research in this matter and come back with an oral ruling momentarily. Thank you.
Wow, Ed.
What did I just witness here? He was arguing to the judge?
Yeah, he was arguing to the judge that she was in fear of her life and that she, went upstairs to flee Mr. Torres because if he had gotten out of the suitcase, that he would have killed her. She feared for her life. So you're going with that she justified leaving him in there because she was in fear of her life, and that's the argument here. And the judge is going to come back and deny. I mean, that is in no way, shape, or form what was shown in court, and the evidence shows that she could have removed him out of that suitcase. He begged and pleaded with her on that whole recording that we heard, and this is a story that she's making up, Ed, as it goes along, because there's dead men don't tell no tales, right? So nobody's there to testify and say, oh no, this is what happened. She's making this story up.
Now
Crazy.
she gave her direct testimony, and was she cross-examined by the prosecutor?
Not yet. No, the defense wasn't done with her yet.
Okay,
I want to
so
kind of go.
Was there a motion, an argument made here by the prosecutor that created this?
I met George when
Yes.
I
And what was the
decided
motion?
to,
And he's a small man.
yes,
Okay, so he was.
Basically, what's happening is that the prosecution is saying that this angle that they're going at, that she was in fear of her life, is not valid because he was begging and pleading with her to get him out. At no time, she said that he said off the recording that if he gets out, he's going to fucking kill her. She even said, "Oh, can I curse on stand?" I'm trying to get to
I
that
heard
point.
I
Yeah.
heard that.
So I mean, it's just so ridiculous, man. I mean, everybody that's in the chat is just, denying the battered spouse syndrome is basically what the argument is here. And I know the judge is going to come back and deny this. So I don't know where it will go from here, but I can't wait to hear when the state gets a chance to cross-examine her. I know that there's some rules.
Yeah, but was there a motion to strike her testimony?
It was, the mic was muted, Ed, so we couldn't hear it. I'm just opining from what this argument here is. Let's listen back to it, because they whisk out the jury, and let me just get it to that part.
It around before.
Okay, here it is. While we're waiting, we'll listen to this
State,
back.
you can proceed with any argument at this point in time.
Judge, I believe that's pretty close to what we already knew from the deposition testimony, from the doctors relaying what she said to the proffer. What we have here is testimony from the defendant. Her timeline is she comes downstairs after having gone up to the shower and hiding, laying down, after being declared to be it. She comes back downstairs, and before she gets back to the bottom of the stairwell, she can see that the victim is in the suitcase trying to get flat because the lid is flopping and he's not hidden just yet. And so she comes over, and I believe she testified she was moving it around before actually zipping the lid shut, but moving it around, everybody's laughing. It's all fun and games still. And then she zips it, and it's still fun and games, and everybody's laughing. And then at this point, she testifies that this is now her opportunity to get on her pulpit to express her true feelings about everything. And that's when she sits down on the couch and opens up her phone device and begins recording what later turns out to be IMG _1062.movie at 11:12:45 for 2 minutes and 3 seconds. During this period of time, the decedent is expressing meekly that he can't breathe. The only time he ever curses at her is, "Sarah, I can't fucking breathe. Babe, I can't fucking breathe." He is demonstrating under the law that he is in fear of losing his life. She has committed an aggravated assault. She has committed false imprisonment. She was the initial aggressor. There was no overt act to justify these actions that she took against her boyfriend. She then goes on to say that during this period of time between the end of the movie at 11:14:48 seconds and before the next one starts at 11:23, that it's now at this time, while he's still constrained and clearly unable to get out under his own power, despite having his hand out, she begins beating him with a bat, poking his hands, poking the suitcase with a deadly weapon. A bat is used for baseball, but it can also be used to harm another person. And according to the medical examiner's testimony, there was great harm caused to him, deep ecchymosis bruises. She can't start to do this out of fear, like the analogy I gave earlier. If I pull a gun to rob you, Judge, and you pull a gun, I can't shoot you in self-defense. She started this. She started this. There was no overt act, and therefore we're asking for you to prevent, under the case law, any prior instances of violence, any reputation evidence, and any battered spouse syndrome evidence, because that's simply just what the case ended up being. Thank you.
Response.
Judge, this was a game by two intoxicated people. When people are drunk and intoxicated, they do silly and stupid things. The evidence is uncontroverted that George Torres willingly, by his own choice, elected to hide in the suitcase. By their interaction between the two of them, giggling and laughing at each other, he consented to her zipping up the suitcase. And the playful nature of what was going on during those few minutes prior to the video. When the video is turned on, there's a 2-minute period where they're talking. He's saying, I need to get out. I can't breathe. She's not taking him seriously. As you've seen from the videos, I thought it was the boy crying wolf. She did not appreciate the fact that he could be actually having trouble breathing. And this was a chance for him to be heard by her about how she felt about some things involving their relationship. A short time later, the video was turned off, and then that period has been testified to by my client. And that period is uncontroverted. That's a second period of time. We've got that time for the video. We got the 11 minutes, we got the 22 seconds. And there's no video, there's no audio, there's no eyewitness, there's nothing but Sarah Boone's testimony. And she's testified here today that they had words, there were threats. He got his hand out of the suitcase. She knew by the threats and him getting his hand out of the suitcase that he was about to get out of the suitcase and he was going to hurt her. A reasonable person under that scenario would believe she was about to be harmed. She was an imminent threat of harm. She blocked that attack by grabbing the bat, hitting his hand.
Smashing his hands and assaulting him while he's inside the suitcase. This is going to be, I mean, this battered spouse syndrome that they're going into, judge is going to come back. I put it in the chat, denied. He's going to look over some case law because he's a man of, he rules the court. He's going to look at case law and he's going to come back and be like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Hand. When that didn't work, she started poking him.
This is so
with
aggravating.
the bat in the suitcase. Eventually, she poked him several times. He put his hand inside the suitcase. She put the bat up. When she realized he was not going to do that any further, she flipped him over right side up. She still had a fear, knowing that if he got out, she would be harmed. He would beat her up. She went upstairs. That is an overt act based on the discussions, coupled with the fact that he threatened her, using the word, I'm going to fucking end it for you, or some words to that effect. I don't remember her exact words, just before she went upstairs while he was still in the suitcase. If she would have let him out, and this is a crime, now this is an event involving an omission. failure to act, failure to unzip him at that point before she went upstairs. The failure to act, the failure to unzip, which would have let him out, which would have created a situation that she believed was imminent bodily harm to herself. And I guess I'll get a couple of examples. Let's say that a police officer is called to a scene and the only thing he hears is there is a suspect and the suspect may be armed. So of course the officer pulls out his
We heard
revolver
this.
and he's walking around. Well, then eventually he
I'm not buying this shit. Anybody buying this? This is weak, man. This is totally weak. Ron, your mic is off.
Thanks. The defense, James Owens, who's up there arguing this weak argument, it's insulting. The jury's not there obviously to hear it, but it's insulting to the judge. The judge has to obviously hear both sides. But I'm monitoring it on my other device to see when they come back up live. But this is going to be a quick decision, and he's going to just say, "Hey, no, this is ridiculous." The guy was in distress. She was not in any danger, and she chose to do what she did. And Ed, I brought up right before you came on, or as you came on with me, when we saw the body cam footage of Sarah Boone, when this happened on February 24th, 2020, the responding officers, she told them, "Oh my God, we were playing an innocent game of hide and seek, and I must have fell asleep. We had a bottle of wine we were drinking. Is he still alive? And she was going on and on and on about, I can't believe I fell asleep. At not any point in time during the whole time, she was asking for soft drinks, cigarettes, all kinds of, I mean, you guys can correct me on some of the things she was asking for. She was asking for, I think, a Dr. Pepper or some kind of drink, cigarettes. And she never at any point during the body cam footage on the scene when this is freshly happening, said to those officers, he was going to kill me. She did not. And now, fast forward to 2024, 4 years later, she's going to get on the stand and tell people, this 5'2", 103-pound boyfriend of mine, he was going to kill me, especially after he was not able to breathe for a period of time. And if he had gotten out after I hit him with the bat on his hands and tossed him upside down and turned him around, he was going to kill me. So I went up with the dogs and come on, man, give me a break. Yeah, Pop-Tarts or whatever she was asking for. I mean, I watched the body cam footage in 2020, like shortly thereafter when it was released. And I was like, holy crap. And recently I did a quick review of it. It's just insulting. LG Rescues, you hit it right on the head. She said it's insulting 100%. And I'm hoping, okay, they're back. Oh.
Ms. Boone is currently seated at counsel's table, wearing the same clothing from this morning. Court has had the opportunity to review the case law, review the arguments provided by both the state and the defense.
Denied.
The court finds that a overt act has been established. The case law is clear that a scintilla of the providing of an overt act is sufficient to provide the self-defense jury instruction. An overt act is not something that's specifically defined in Florida case law. It's something that's from the totality of the circumstances, seemingly under the authorities that the court has reviewed. As such, the court is going to find that under Holland, a overt act has been established and will allow the defense to proceed with evidence of reputation and specific instances of conduct and battered spouse evidence, so long as the necessary predicates are established for those items. Any questions or clarifications with regard to the court's order state?
He's letting it in.
Defense.
I can't believe it.
I went through my exhibits involving the law photographs and these other photographs because I think some of it was contingent on the court's ruling. So I don't know if you want to try to deal with all of them one at a time in front of the jury, or whether we want to just talk about them ahead of time so that we know.
Are there any objections to those items
Did he define the
Items
overt
have
act?
shown a lot of different things, including like a rap sheet between the victim and the defendant stuff.
I've taken that.
We need to, I'm happy to take care of some of this stuff in advance.
I'd rather do it now
Yes.
so that's not up, down, in and out with the jury.
So
Go ahead, Mr. Owens. What do we got?
Well, I had the clerk go ahead and mark everything. Some of it is a composite. Is this it? Rich?
Yeah, this is all based on case law. You know, we don't have access to the case law.
No, I don't want, yeah, but what did he, what is her overt act? What is the overt act that he's relying on for allowing this?
Yeah, this is unbelievable, man.
Her alleged statements that he made that no one can corroborate?
Right. It's her word against nobody else's. But you know, somebody in the chat said maybe the judge is allowing it to prevent them from saying, "Oh, you know, I didn't get a fair shake." And if he's looking at the case law and case law, you know, Ed, he didn't make the decision obviously on his own. He looked to his clerks, law clerks, and so forth, and then he reviewed it as well. But you know, some people in the chat are saying I'm not surprised by this. So. But it is mind-boggling. I would be curious to see what some of the law tubers had to say about this.
There was no prior evidence of the decedent beating her. There was no.
Well, that's what they're talking about, getting the records.
Right.
Now the DA is talking about let's pull up the records to see if there was any DV cases or any domestic violence calls to that location involving Boone and the decedent Torres. So that's what they're trying to get.
So basically, the judge is relying on her testimony stating that he threatened her from inside the suitcase.
Yeah.
And I ask anybody watching this, is this reasonable?
Yeah, this is freaking me out. But even so, with this letting this go, I think the jury is going to be able to see through it. I mean, they looked and listened to the video of her mocking him while he's begging for his life. Sarah, please, I can't breathe. I think that's going to have a high impact here, and I do not think that the jury is going to believe her. First of all, she's not believable. She lied so many times to the detectives, and now she's lying on the stand, creating her own story. So I still don't see this as something that's a shocker. Like it's not. It was shocking to me that he ruled in favor of letting that go, but I don't think that this is going to have an adverse effect on the jury.
It's 5 photographs where he took a bat to the TV, to Sarah's TV.
My understanding is this O?
So they're going over the evidence about a bat to
This
the
is still O,
TV.
correct?
Yes.
So they're trying to show that he has a propensity for violence.
Foundation's established. Thank you.
We also intend to introduce the video. There's a short video on
It's under
site.
States Exhibit 2. We're not going to get that.
Okay.
As long as it's foundation.
No objection so long as foundation is established.
P, identification, defense identification P, is 2 photographs of an incident in which
No objection. As long as foundation is laid. Is that correct?
All right, no objection so long as appropriate predicate is established.
these next ones are individual photographs, not composites, but Q for identification is 1 photograph.
Is that part of the right stuff that we already done?
I was told this was separate from the burn. This was I think a slap or something. Not the burn.
No objection. to foundation.
Looks like pictures of Sarah.
With regard to Q, no objection so long as the appropriate foundation is laid.
Identification R,
No objection as long as foundation laid.
No objection to R so long as foundation is laid.
S
Same for S.
for identification,
With regard to S, no objection so long as foundation is laid.
Same for T.
T,
No objection by the state so long as appropriate foundation is laid.
Same for U.
No objection from the state, so long as appropriate foundation is laid for you. Same for V,
Same for W,
W,
same for X,
X,
same for Y.
Y.
Okay. So the defense was ready with all of their stuff. I'm sure that the prosecutor has access or quick access. I'm sure that they probably planned for this, possibly, Ed. So,
Did the defense finish their direct questioning of her?
no. They're going to go into, I guess, this component now, this battered woman syndrome, this battered spouse syndrome, if you will. I don't buy it. You know, somebody in the chat, we just got a super chat, Ed, from, let me read it because it's yeah, he's got all these, oh boy. They both have DV charges, so it's going to incriminate her if they pull her records as well. But look at this.
One of the other, I'll go ahead and say
A, identification for A?
Were
Wow.
these the ones that we addressed pre-trial?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
no problem with that being demonstrative aid.
In terms of introducing this as an exhibit into evidence?
Duplicative, competitive.
Is it contained in K through Y?
Ed, I'll be right back.
Then, is that accurate?
I believe so. I mean, I know the clerk probably doesn't want the blow up, but
If it's
it's going to be easier to handle, the clerk to handle the
Yes.
8.5 by 11.
if it's, allow you to use it for demonstrative purposes, but I'm not going to accept it into evidence as it is duplicative of what's already in evidence as X, defense pre-marked X.
And then identification C.
Same thing, same photographs.
That was it was one of the earlier ones we addressed. M or N was the staircase.
And
Okay, for the same reasons, you can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but it's duplicative as the exhibit itself will be entered into evidence, presumably.
Something like that. D, identification.
same thing, it's one of the photographs and it's on the state's digital.
Any disagreement that it's included in your pre-marked?
I agree.
Okay, then same ruling. It is duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes.
Identification E.
Same thing.
Is it included, sir, in K through Y?
Yes.
Then for the same reasons, it's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes only.
F for identification.
Same thing.
It's included in your submittals.
Yes.
All right, same ruling. It's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but it will not be accepted into evidence.
Identification G.
Same thing.
Is it included in your submittal, sir?
Yes.
All right, for the same reasons, I find it's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but not seeking it into evidence.
H.
Same thing.
Yes.
Same ruling. You can use it for demonstrative purposes, but it will not be received into evidence by virtue of it being duplicative.
Identification I.
Same as T.
Any disagreement with that, sir?
No, sir.
All right, same ruling. Court finds it's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes.
Identification. Madam Clerk.
Hang on, is that the house?
It's either Delta or B.
I think that's Bravo. It's at the defendant on the porch with the two dogs.
Yes.
That was pre-marked before trial as Bravo.
B. Same.
Same.
It was as defense M. Relevancy objection is overruled, but I'm not going to allow the enlargement as it's duplicative, as the native photo is in evidence. But you can use it for demonstrative
Yeah, I
purposes.
probably want to use these in closing and just use this, use that for the.
However you see fit, sir.
Okay, this is not working today?
I can't speak to that. I don't know that anybody today has utilized it. But that's not connected to the overhead. That's separate and apart from the overhead.
Okay, oh, okay. Judge, what other evidence do we have? Do we have body cams? Excuse me? Nothing else? Nothing else through Sarah. There may be some body cam footage to refresh memories. We've got two deputies out there.
Okay.
Um,
Any other exhibits with regard to Ms. Boone at this point in time, Mr. Owens? state any reason why we cannot ask Ms. Owens or Mr. Owens to continue his inquiry of Ms. Boone and have her return to the witness stand. All right. Mr. Owens, anything else we need to discuss, sir? Sure.
What did I miss?
What you missed was all these blown up photographs that the defense tried to bring in, and the judge ruled that they were duplicative to photos that were already entered into evidence, and that he wouldn't allow them to be entered as evidence, but he'd use them for demonstrative purposes only.
Buffoonery at its best.
Okay. If we can bring Ms. Boone back up to the witness stand. Once she is seated, we can bring back in our panel.
So he wasted all his time and money making all those pictures for nothing. I love it.
He's going to use them in closing.
Thank
I mean,
you,
they're
Queen Z.
huge. They're huge, and he mounted them on foam core.
Oh,
Go
my
ahead and stand
God.
and bring back in our
Big-
panel.
Big posters.
Good God. I'm going to mute this just for a second. Greetings, Queen Z. Greetings, Ron and Ed, watching from Great Britain. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Guys, if you can, take a moment to hit the like and subscribe. If you're not yet subscribed, share it out. We're listening to Sarah Boone giving testimony, giving us her hogwash, her side of the story, if it's believable. Let me know if you think it is believable in the chat and down below in the comment section.
Jury entering.
Schmitty, I got to say, you crack me up. All your comments are funny. She said, I'm back. No verdict yet?
State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, sir.
Defense, do you recognize our jury?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All can be seated. Members of the jury, again, you could, once seated, raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during our last break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. Mr. Owens, you may continue with your inquiry, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Boone, so I think we left off. You had called your ex-husband.
Yes.
All right. After you called your ex-husband, what happened after that?
I ended up falling asleep.
Okay. Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes.
Did you sleep in?
Not intentionally.
Okay. But you didn't get up at 8 o'clock, did you?
No.
Did you wake up closer to noon?
I believe so, yes.
Did you check the time?
No.
Now,
I'm not buying that.
Did you hear your phone ringing?
Yes, my phone was ringing.
Great comment here,
And,
Ed.
did you answer it right away?
No.
Do you know approximately how many times it rang before you answered it?
I believe the call was about 3 times.
Did you know who was calling?
I figured it was my ex-husband.
And why would he be calling?
To make sure that I was still on schedule to pick up our son.
At 3 that afternoon?
Correct.
And he goes to school there close by?
Yes.
All right. When you woke up, did you stay in bed for a while?
For a little while, yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when you got up.
I knew it was my ex-husband calling repeatedly. I didn't answer right away because one of our problems is that he doesn't understand that I'm doing things around the apartment and looking for jobs and so on and so forth. So I inevitably just let it ring, and I laid in the bed, and I figured that George was downstairs either drinking or looking for jobs, or may have just left. And so eventually I decided to get out of the bed and start moving to go downstairs. I was motivated enough to go downstairs. And when I went downstairs, it was very quiet. So I had the understanding, I believed that he had left. And
Did you check to see if he was, where would he be looking for a job at?
usually on the couch, he would have my son's laptop, and he and I, which we would share.
Y'all
To
only
look
have
for-
the son's laptop,
Correct.
and the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase
Let me
and
stop you there. You said you were in the bathroom when you saw the suitcase, or coming out of the bathroom?
know where our bathroom is. I would have to go to the bathroom here, and then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase, and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
Why is he
I
allowed
don't
to ask
think I've
such
ever
leading
experienced
questions?
anything like that before.
And he's
Describe
not
what
being
you-
challenged by the prosecution either.
Yeah.
I guess it was.
This has been going on
it
all
was
day.
gas,
Yeah,
and
I saw it earlier.
I just can't describe the feeling.
Bless
Terror to
Bless you.
a certain degree.
I'm sorry, say that again now.
It was terror to a certain degree. I just can't describe it in words, the feeling of remembering. And then he was still in there.
So what did you do?
I immediately unzipped the suitcase, and I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him. And I pulled him out, and I stretched him out flat, and then I began instantly trying to do CPR, and then was trying to look for a pulse or a breath or just anything, and was just screaming his name over and over and over again, and come on, George, and I continued CPR, and I continued CPR, and he was gurgling. And
What color was he?
what color was he?
Yes.
He was purple.
At some point, did you call your ex-husband?
Zero
Yes,
emotions.
when he
Zero.
started to gurgle, and I knew that my ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times when George is possibly drunk or doing things not appropriate for my
Everybody
son
in
to
this
see.
woman's life
And,
does things wrongs according
I
to
just didn't
her.
know what to do. It was just a quick knee-jerk reaction. Ryan was kind of my go-to person because of my family being deceased, and I don't have anyone else that I can call. And I just wanted to ensure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this at some point.
So you called him.
I called him.
Did you ask him what to do? Or did you just tell him to come over?
I just told him to come over.
Did you tell him that you felt like George was dead?
Yes, I did.
And how far? You said it's 5 minutes from house to house?
Yes.
Did you call him back?
Yes, because he was taking so long. It felt seconds were hours. Yes. I'm still doing CPR at the same time in the process of it. I'm
Yeah.
doing CPR, I don't know how many times.
Did he get there?
Yes,
Did he walk in?
yes,
Did he walk out?
yes.
What did he tell you to do?
Call 911.
What did you do?
I called 911.
Is that the recording we've heard here in this trial?
Yes.
Did you love George?
To this day.
Why did you love him?
George was very passionate. George was a very real person. George was nice to me on the good days. George complimented me. George and I were two bodies with one soul, he and I would always say. I don't believe that I've ever had a connection with anyone like I have with George.
Did you have that connection with your ex-husband?
I did not.
Was it he-
But he's the same guy that you were afraid of, and he was going to kill you.
George has some good traits, doesn't he?
Exactly,
Very
Ed.
much.
Did George have some bad traits?
He did.
Here we go.
Did you drink too much?
I did.
Did George drink too much?
Yes.
Tell the jury about George's drinking.
Because he's not here to tell you, and she's going to lie.
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a life, a normal life as best as I could, somehow that upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement, at one point it was from wine we could afford vodka. So a lot of the times he would take my car and my debit card and go buy the large, we call them handles, of vodka, which is the big bottle. And sometimes he would finish that all off on his own throughout an entire period of a day into an evening. That's honestly where I thought that he was going to be that morning when I came downstairs, because he's notorious for just automatically already being outside from drinking all the time.
All right. And you said you have an alcohol problem. George has an alcohol problem.
Yes.
How did George's drinking adversely affect you?
It would debilitate my ability to help him the way that I was always trying to help him, because it would be one good day, a day of survival, and then it would be another day where I'm having to peel him off of me and call 911.
Why would he get that way? Tell us his pattern as it relates to drinking and then
Approach.
Oy vey, Ed. Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. Man.
I mean, what I find so remarkable about this is that everybody was predicting it, and I even said it before she took the stand that they were going to go this route. Just many surprising things, but at the end of the day, this is not a good look for her to get before this jury and talk bad about him. He was drinking with him. These domestic violence issues, it takes two to have the violence. It goes both ways. And they were both not acting right towards each other. And it was alcohol induced, and sometimes it wasn't. But at the end of the day, she wound up killing him. He was begging on video, and she took that video on her own, begging on video to be let out of that suitcase, and she was mocking him. You can't erase that, and that won't bode well against her when this jury looks at all the evidence and comes up with their verdict. Here, it's beyond, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and I think they've done that. And there was a spite with this. And the defense attorney, look, it's a job that I wouldn't want to do, but it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, right? There's many people out there that have to do this for people, but boy, woof, this one takes the cake.
Well, I wouldn't be too sure about that, conviction, because I've seen crazy cases. One that I personally knew the victim, where the wife got away with killing him.
This would be a travesty of justice if that happens here. And again, like you said, nothing is ever concrete. But I mean, look at the evidence and look at what was presented here. And we haven't even heard the cross-examination. I'm hoping that the state goes at her hard, and William J. goes at her hard, and we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a long haul with the sidebars and all kinds of stuff. This is something that I thought would have been quick. No, yeah, we're at this 2 hours already. Unbelievable. Just a blank stare. And somebody was saying in the chat, where did she get the Sharpie to do her eyeliner? I thought you weren't allowed to have makeup in jail, but I guess you can, Yeah. So someone in the chat saying, is this
Objection's
is
overruled for now.
this is the trial? Yes, it is.
Y'all were together 3.5 years.
Yes,
Is there times when he would get to a state of intoxication where he would get violent against you?
quite often.
Judge, can I approach the witness?
Yes, as long as you show it to the state first, please.
I'm going to show you defense exhibit for identification P. It's 2 photographs. Could you look at those photographs and see if you recognize those?
I do.
Are those 2 pictures of your body?
Yes,
Did they show injuries to your body?
yes,
Were those injuries caused by George Torres?
yes,
Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the injuries you sustained at the hands of George Torres?
on this occurrence, yes.
You remember this occurrence?
I don't, it was so often.
You
Oh,
don't remember a specific date?
I don't,
But you're sure that that's you?
yes.
Is that the injuries that what's the injury to the rib cage?
I don't remember specifically. These may be the pictures. So, when we used to go over to his brother's house, one of his brothers and his,
Non-responsive.
Sustained.
You're gonna have to answer this question. Do you know what happened to, did George cause these injuries?
yes,
All right. Were y'all both drinking at that time?
I don't remember on this instance.
Judge, I'd like to move this exhibit into evidence.
Okay.
What was pre-marked as P will be received into evidence without objection as Defense Exhibit 2. Jay, would you be so kind? Thank you.
And I need to ask permission to publish.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to add to this Miss Felony Strutter comment. Any good defense attorney doesn't allow their client to control the way his case is presented, the way he represents his client. So if in fact he's allowing her to do that, then shame on him.
I think there's
He's not a
wheel
good
on the
attorney.
top where you can use to. There you go.
Ms. Boone, is that you?
Yes,
Are those injuries to your arm?
yes,
Were they caused by George Torres?
yes,
And during the same incident, is this you?
yes,
Is that an injury or bruise to your rib cage area
yes,
and your arm?
yes.
I'll show you identification, defense identification Q. See if you recognize that photograph.
Yes,
Is that your thigh?
yes,
Okay. Do you remember this incident?
yes.
Can you tell the jury what happened?
I wanted to take my dogs for a walk and get off of the back porch.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes. And he was upset that I would rather go walk my dogs than sit there and continue to drink. So he slapped my thigh as hard as he possibly could and said that you're not going anywhere. And it was a good smack on my thigh.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the wound that you suffered as a result of George Torres slapping you on the thigh?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer a few minute evidence.
No, Judge.
What was pre-marked as Q will be received into evidence without objection as defense 3.
Judge, can I publish?
You may, sir.
And for the jury's sake, is this the
I'm online.
Okay, I'm sorry to bother you. I know Morgan was starting to make appointments with Don.
Let's show you identification, defense identification S. See if you recognize that photograph.
I do.
Is that your hand?
Yes.
Is that your blood on your hand?
Yes, it is.
Is that you standing, looks like in a room with flip-flops?
This is in the kitchen at Brian's house.
Okay, what happened there?
So George was very drunk and I wanted to leave, and he's notorious for taking my car keys and putting them around his neck and my phone in his crotch area and telling me to come get them. And I really wanted to leave because of how drunk, and I knew the escalation of his anger. I didn't want to be there when it was at its peak. So I tried to take my keys from around him because he kept taunting me to take my keys, come get your keys. And so I attempted to go and get my keys. And so he ended up getting a butcher knife. And I had an opportunity to call Brian to come and help me, to please come pick me up, to come get me. And of course, he brings my son with him. And so I'm in the parking lot asking Brian to please help me get my car keys away from him. And there's neighbors, and it's a scene at this point. And George comes to the doorway of my townhome wielding the butcher knife, saying that, do I curse?
Yeah.
That no one's going to take her fucking keys. No one's going to fucking come into this house. And he's waving the butcher knife. And I walked up to him and I just wanted to leave. And my little son, who was, I believe, 7 or 8 at the time, just is screaming, "Give mommy her keys, give mommy her keys, let her leave." Brian was even trying to negotiate with him, saying, "Please, she'll come back, just let her leave." So I went up to try and take the keys from him, and he was pulling on them, and I ended up pulling harder. And he pulled them back again to try to pull me in the house, and I pulled them even harder, and it ripped my finger. And at one point, I had lost the fingernail, and the tip of my pinky was severely gashed.
Judge, I'd like to offer this to the evidence.
Okay.
What was it pre-marked as, Counselor?
Just like S, but not accordingly.
What was pre-marked as defense S will be received into evidence without objection as defense 4.
Ms. Boone, for the jury's sake, is this the picture you were referring to? Is that the nail, or was it on, still on?
I believe so, yes.
Now I'm showing you a composite identification L, 2 photographs. Can you look at those photographs and tell the jury what they are?
I wanted to eat, and while he was drinking, went and made myself, as quickly as I possibly could, a microwave bowl of, I believe it was broccoli and cheddar soup. And I didn't get it out enough time, and he came up behind me and he slapped it out of my hand. And it was a 2nd-degree burn. I went to the hospital for it.
Were those fair and accurate depictions of the injury, the burn to your thigh?
Yes.
We'd like to offer identification L in evidence.
No objection.
What was pre-marked as L will be received into evidence without objection as defense 5.
Permission.
Yes, sir.
You had to go to the hospital as a result of these injuries to your thigh?
Yes. It
Okay.
was extremely painful.
Is that a depiction of the burn?
Yes.
Is that your thigh
Oh my God, yes.
and your knee?
Yes.
All right, I'm showing you composite exhibit for identification K, 4 photographs. Did you look at those, all 4, before commenting? This is a longer story, isn't it? Go ahead and tell.
So George stabbed me in my leg. I almost bled to death.
All right, well, let's go back and explain. what
Bullshit.
happened.
Almost bled to
I
death.
thought it would be nice to cook a nice steak dinner. We don't have 2 nickels to rub together, so I thought it would be special to make a steak dinner and baked potato and go above the normal whatever's left over in the refrigerator. And so I spent a lot of time doing that, and George is drinking the entire time, and on the back porch.
And so are you.
You know?
I was drinking. He
Thank
was on
you.
the back porch while I was in the house and I was cooking. And it was one of those where maybe if I start making dinner now, it will be over at a particular time and we can go to bed at a reasonable time. And I even put it in the bedroom and had a movie set up for us to watch. So it would just kind of be dinner in bed. And then he came upstairs and saw that I had made the steak dinner, and I don't know how to describe how drunk he was, but It definitely was not George. And had him come lay on the bed, sit on the bed, and put the I got the dogs out, and I presented him with the steak dinner, and sat down and was getting ready to start playing the movie, and he starts being very rude and cursing the steak and finding fault with it. And then, I'm having to encourage him to eat. If you want me to cut it up for you, I will cut it up for you. Did you want some more sour cream for your potato?
Yeah, right.
What can I do to make you happier?
Bullshit,
And
lady.
then he started to pull on me and kept saying that, that I just want to fuck you on the steak and fuck you on the potatoes. And I took offense to that, and I kept trying to encourage him to eat. I started to
Was
eat.
this just him really drunk and saying nonsense?
I don't know why he was so angry that day. I don't know if it's because I got steak. I don't know. Most of the time I don't know the reason why. I couldn't take it anymore. Obviously, I was not going to be able to eat. So I started to crawl off of the bed to leave, just the bedroom. And he told me again that I'm not going anywhere, and he stabbed me in my leg, and it crunched. You could hear a noise that it made, and blood just started to come out of my leg, just like a fountain. So I got off of the bed. He's starting to freak out, and grabbed me a towel. I got a wet towel, and I'm sitting here holding the towel, and it's increasingly becoming even more and more saturated by the minute. It's just minutes. So I'm going through towels and towels, and I said, George, I think I need to go to the hospital. This is not stopping to bleed. This is serious. And he got on his knees and begged me, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. And inevitably, he went and got my car keys and put them around his neck again, and my cell phone. So I was not able to call anyone, and I wasn't able to leave in my car. So I figured I would just go downstairs, and I'm just going to go downstairs. And I had propped my foot up on the glass table that we had, and blood is just everywhere. Blood is everywhere. I can't keep up with the amount of blood, and I'm starting to feel very weak and really weird. And he comes downstairs, and he's still begging me, please don't call 911. Please don't call 911. I kept telling him, there's something, this is serious. This is something. Because he knew that he would probably get arrested or something bad would happen to him. So I couldn't take him anymore. He was just all over me, and just, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding very badly, and he's having me try to console him. And I kept telling him, please, I need to call 911, please. And I said, okay, just give me a moment. And I crawled upstairs to my son's bathroom, which is the furthest bathroom away from everything. And I remember holding onto the sink, and I looked into the mirror, and my lips were blue. And I knew I needed help. I needed help. And he came upstairs looking frantic for me, calling my name. And then I turned to him and I said, please, I'm going to die. I've lost a lot of blood. There's something wrong. My lips are blue. Please, we don't have to call an ambulance. If you could just take me, I'll drive whatever I can do, please, to go to the hospital for this.
What a bullshit
And he
story.
said,
oh my God.
that before anything happens, I had to concoct a story in order for him to not be arrested or be in trouble when we did inevitably get to the hospital. So I'm sitting there with this blood-soaked towel with blue lips, trying to come up with a story of what I can tell them when I go down there so he's not in trouble, and telling him that it's okay. And I came up with the story of that we were sword fighting silly after drinking with our steak knives, and he accidentally punctured my leg. And from there,
How did you get to the hospital?
originally, he told me to drive, and because of the amount of alcohol that he drank, and it was, I couldn't. So he got into the driver's seat and drove me, and the entire time he's barking at me to make sure that I get the story straight. We're sword fighting, okay? We were drunk, you know,
Did you go to
being
the
silly.
emergency room?
Yes,
All right, and did you get treated there?
yes.
All right.
I was bloody, and
All right, let me show you the photograph. I'll show you this.
Sword fighting. I thought that meant something else, but she's putting a new spin on it.
Injury to your leg.
What a clown this woman is.
yes,
This is
I
a
had to go
joke.
to 2 different hospitals for it.
And you lied to medical personnel about,
Swordicus.
Yes, they brought in sheriffs and everything.
was it consistent with, they brought in sheriffs? Did you have to answer to the law enforcement officers?
Yes,
Did you stick with the story that you and George had agreed?
I did.
Judge, I'd like to offer this composite exhibit.
What was pre-marked as K will be received into evidence without objection as defendant 6. You may publish, sir.
Thank you. And is this you at the hospital?
Yes.
Is this the stab wound to your leg?
Yes.
Is this a close-up of the stab wound?
Yes.
And is that, was that,
Could that have been self-inflicted? Or maybe she fell on something that cut her in a drunken stupor? I think that might be more probable.
Problems with the surgery.
but you eventually recovered?
Eventually, yes.
Do you have a scar to that effect?
I do.
So can you step down and show me?
Mr. J? You may. There's a lock, sir.
Susie Q, she definitely reminds me of Shonda Vanderrock a little bit. A little dumber version of Shonda Vanderrock.
Is this the injury here? Looks like there's an admission. All right, I'm showing you identification T. You recognize that photograph?
I do. Yes.
All right. Looks like you've got an injury to your lip and to your face. Do you recall this event?
I was trying to sleep, and
Have y'all been drinking?
I'm sure. I know that he had been drinking. This was one of the instances where I would go upstairs to try to go to sleep. And
But
he-
y'all drank together a lot, did you not?
Sometimes, yes.
But there were times where he wanted to stay up and continue to drink and you wanted to go to bed.
Many times, yes.
You were done, he was not.
Correct.
Was that one of these times?
Yes.
So tell us what happened.
I'm sleeping in the bed, sound asleep, and he comes into the room and grabs me by my hair a lot of the times. And from here, he scratched me from trying to grab me, and then grabbed my hair and pulled me off of the bed, and then raked my face across the carpet. These are carpet burns.
To your lips?
Yes.
What about to the, looks like the eyebrow area?
That's from where from grabbing me, scratched me and got a hold of me by my hair.
Why was he mad at you?
Because I wasn't downstairs with him
He wanted you to be drinking with him?
all the time.
All right, I'd like to introduce identification T and evidence.
What was pre-marked as T will be received into evidence without objection as defense exhibit 7.
permission vote.
You may, sir.
Do you see the injury between the eyes and the injury to the lip,
Yes,
as you described?
yes, and then the blood going down my eye, yes.
Showing you what has been marked as exhibit for identification, or defense exhibit. You, for identification.
Yes,
Can you describe that photograph?
I can.
Go ahead.
This was the first time that I ever called 911. George and I had gone to a bar across the street within walking distance, and at some point, I asked a guy, or he asked me, somehow or another, it was over a cigarette. And he left, and I didn't know where he went, and the bartender said, oh, he left. He took your car and he left. So,
Why would he do that?
well, I found out when I got home, it was because I spoke to another man. And so I paid the tab and I walked home, and he's sitting on the back porch with the handle of vodka. And I was walking on eggshells and terrified and kind of treaded lightly when I came in, and he acted all natural and fine. So I didn't know the reason why that he had just gotten up and left with my car. So then he calls me a whore, and then he calls me a slut, and then he calls me a cunt, and gets up and pushes me. And he pushed me with both of his hands so hard that we have this little area where our washer and dryer is, and there are metal doors that are on it. And he pushed me into the metal door. And then I fell back, and he got his knees on top of me on my arms here. So I was pinned down, and was starting to strangle me and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over and over it again, and calling me a fucking whore and you're such a slut and fuck you and everything. And my tongue was flopping out of my mouth, and I thought I was going to bite my tongue off. And because of the amount of noise, I guess, my head was making on the metal door, he slid me down and got back on me, and then started to strangle me again. And it was on, we have carpet, but it's like concrete. And I was able to get my arms out from underneath and grab his throat and get him off of me. So I got him off of me, and I pushed him off, and he came up and he goes, "You fucking bitch." And he stomped my face. And the next thing I know, I woke up. I obviously
Did you get
blacked
knocked
out.
down?
I'm obviously, I guess, yes. And he was passed out on the floor. And I woke up frantic, looking for my phone, and I immediately called 911.
Okay. The police arrived on that incident.
Yes, they did.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained as a result of him kicking you?
Stomping, yes.
It was a stomp?
Stomp.
With his
All I
heel?
saw was his heel.
This is, we ask that this be identification you be admitted today.
What was pre-marked as you will be received without objection is defense 8.
Was that the next day, or is that a few days later?
That's a couple of days later.
Grossakist. Yes, definitely.
Bruising of the eye?
Yes.
Now, the police were called, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me go to the details.
But they were soulmates.
Yeah. Her
Showing you.
theatrics were really over the top there. That's going to make for some good memes.
Yes.
Can you identify that picture?
Yes,
Is that your leg?
yes,
And is that was like the injury to your knee?
yes,
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained to your knee?
yes,
Do you remember how that happened?
yes.
Did you tell the jury?
I was trying to get off of the back porch and he grabbed me and pushed me, and it was a rock or a really sharp piece of mold from him grabbing me and pushing me onto the ground. And I guess I just happened to hit my knee just right on whatever it was.
Were y'all drinking? Why did he push you?
Because I wanted to get off of the back porch.
Of course they were
Wanted to
drinking.
stay out there?
Yes.
He wanted you to be with him? What's the deal with him wanting to be with you all the time?
Insecurity, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Did you do your best to please him?
And then some, yes.
All right, I'd like to introduce an evidence identification.
What was pre-marked as V will be received into evidence without objection as defense 9.
Now, Ms. Boone, were you treated for this, or did you self-treat? Show the jury now.
No, that was just, I got the first aid kit that I had for my son and I just cleaned it up.
You what?
I said I got the first aid kit that I had for my son and I just cleaned it up and put a Band-Aid on it.
All right, I'm showing you identification W. That's identification. You recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What is that a photograph of?
This is a photograph of my arm.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the arm with some type of injury?
Yes,
Do you remember this event?
multiple times, yes.
Well, we're talking about this isolated event where this photograph was taken, the injury you sustained.
Yep.
Who injured your arm?
George Torres,
Do you remember this event?
yes.
Did you tell the jury about it?
This was one of the instances where I would try to pull away from him, and I don't know how my arm started to do this, but from him pulling from this way, how hard he would pull, with me trying to struggle to get away from him, it would leave these bloody under the skin splotches.
So he wouldn't hit you sometimes, he would just grab you and pull you.
Yes, from me trying to pull away from him, that's the point of it doing this, from me pulling away from him.
Now, this is one of the many times y'all were both intoxicated.
I mean, I can't say for sure that, yes, but whenever it would happen, yes, I would be drinking.
Identification W is evidence.
What was pre-marked as W will be received into evidence without objection as defense exhibit 10. You may, sir.
All right, it doesn't look like a wound or anything.
Objection to commentary.
Sustained.
Tell me, I'm sorry, tell me, you said it's just from the grip, him losing his grip?
Yes, it would be from me pulling away from him and whatever under the skin it was that it was disturbed from, the amount of pressure of him holding and then pulling from me would create those on my arms.
I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit X for identification.
Yes.
And what is that a picture of?
This is a picture of my ear, side of my head.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction
Yes.
of the injury you sustained by George Torres?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Yes.
Were you drinking?
I at the time was not drinking.
On this event, you had not consumed any alcohol.
I mean, I may have earlier. This was another, I was in the bed trying to sleep.
Where was George?
Downstairs drinking.
All right, and so you were wanting to go to bed, and he wanted you to stay down there with him?
Yes, I was in the bed.
All right, tell the jury what happened on this event.
I believe this was the instant where I was in the bed and I used to barricade the door with our dresser,
Why
which
didn't you just lock it?
all of the locks were broken in my home.
Why?
They were from George taking them, including my son's. At one point, I could seek refuge in my son's room, but he broke that one as well.
Well, tell me, explain how that happens. Tell the jury, we can't read your mind.
George wants me, which he has told me numerous times, that I am to be with him at all times and doesn't like to be apart from me or away from me. So whenever it was even just to go to the bathroom, sometimes he would go with me. And you have to understand, I have a 2-story, 900 square foot townhome, so there's not many places to go. So it just happened to be that it would be upstairs or downstairs, or I'd be in a particular room or not. So inevitably.
Did you want some time away?
Yes, I did. Even if it were just him upstairs or me downstairs or vice versa. So I rarely got to sleep. This was one of the instances because I had barricaded the door with our, 200-pound dresser that we had. And then I had my nightstand barricaded up against the bed, to where it was even more difficult from the prior times of him breaking in. And he would, I don't know how he would ever do it, but he would get himself in through the crack of the door that he would be able to wedge the dresser in the nightstand. And he pulled me out of the bed and told me I was going to die. And I believe it's this incident, and punched me, and
Punched you in the side of the head?
yes, in
Was
my
it-
temple and everything.
Was it an open fist or a closed fist, or do you know?
It was fully closed.
Like identification X introduced in evidence?
It was pre-marked as X, will be received without objection as Defense Exhibit 11.
Part I'm showing you. This exhibit. That's you? Did you get any treatment for that? Medical treatment?
I know the police came, but I don't remember. I remember it hurt for a good solid 2 weeks after that.
Was this one of the incidents where the police were called?
Yes.
Now, do you recognize this photograph, which is identification Y?
Yes.
Was that the date of the incident? The date of this event?
No, it happened prior. But this picture that was taken of the,
This picture was taken, would have been taken February 24th of 2020.
yes,
And do you recognize that as your close-up facial?
yes,
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how your face looked on February 23rd of 2020?
yes.
What's the significance of this picture?
Again, because I was sleeping, George was upset with me and came in with a metal curtain rod and bent it and snapped it in half and then crunched me in the forehead with it. And then started to beat the furniture that was in the bedroom. This is probably a good month before or after it had happened, before I really do believe that I should have gotten stitches, but I was not allowed to go to the hospital.
Judge, I'd like identification Y introduced in evidence.
It was a gash.
What was pre-marked as Y will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 12.
Is that the same curtain rod that you mentioned in the 2-hour interrogation video?
Which they didn't take, yes.
This was photographs that were taken, the I guess it would have been the crime scene, was it the crime scene investigator that came out and took photographs?
I don't remember who it was, but yes, someone did on the day of the incident.
Was it different from the extraction, the phone extraction expert? Was it somebody different?
I think.
But this wound right here?
Yes. And remember, that's a month later.
And then on that same date, they took, same time, they took this photograph as well, which is identification R.
Yes.
All right, and what does that do?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat, and
Is that an injury to your hand?
it's a bruise.
Was that taken, February, was it February 23rd, 2020, when the investigators came out, on
February 24th, I believe.
February 24th? And I'd like to introduce identification on the evidence.
What was pre-marked as defense R will be received into evidence without objection as defense 13.
Pleasure to publish.
Yes, sir.
This is not a great photograph, copy of the copy. But February 24th of 2020, is that what you were wearing? Is that you?
Yes.
And there's some discoloration up here of your palm. You see that?
I do.
Is that from you jabbing him with a baseball bat? Do
Sustained.
you know how you suffered that injury?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat.
When you poked him with it?
Yes, trying to get his hand back in.
I'm showing you defense identification N. Just like 5 photographs. Can you look at those? See if you recognize them. All right, well, let's continue now.
Yes.
And are those fair and accurate depictions
Yes.
as a composite of the events that occurred in relation to George Torres and your TV?
Yes. Yes.
All right, are those stills of a videotape that you took?
Yes.
And is that videotape, was it on your phone?
Yes.
So when law enforcement sees the phone, they would have had access to this video?
I believe so, yes.
And tell me about it.
Lucas liked to watch cartoons and play video games on the big screen, this is the big screen. And I would have to call Brian to come over sometimes to help me figure out the Fire Stick and whatever platform or whatever it was that Lucas was trying to view his shows and video games on. And I don't remember how George found out that Brian had come over. I believe because it was actually fixed and he knew that I didn't know how to do it. Found out that Brian had come over to fix it, and
Was he jealous of Brian?
I don't know if he was jealous of Brian. I think that he had a fear that I somehow would go back to Brian. So I think by Brian helping me with things for Lucas, he just didn't want him to be interacting with me at all.
So Lucas wasn't over here this day. was he? Ron wasn't over here this day.
He may have been, I can't remember when he actually fixed the television for Lucas.
But y'all were drinking this day.
I know he was for a fact, yes.
Chances are you were.
Probably so, yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
So how did it end up badly?
He accused me of sucking Brian's dick and told me that he was going to break my face with the bat, that he was going to make me unrecognizable to my son with the bat, and then told me that he's going to destroy my fucking television, and then I was going to remove it from the apartment. And if I didn't, I was going to be, again, unrecognizable to my son.
So did he grab the bat?
Absolutely. He already had that in his hand, and he told me that I had to videotape it.
Did you videotape it voluntarily? All right, but there is a video, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask Judge if I could introduce this identification of these 5 photographs into evidence.
Okay. Is it O or N?
I have O being a composite with 5 photos, and not having a single photo.
We're moving in O. Okay. All right. What was pre-marked as O will be received into evidence without objection as defense 14.
All right, so these are some stills from the video. This was George that particular day holding the bat.
That's telling me that I'm going to take the television out once he destroys it.
He wanted you to take the television out.
That or I was going to help him, but either way, I was taking it apart and removing it.
And what is this picture of?
In the process of him destroying my television.
While you're videotaping.
Correct.
Is that the result?
No. After that, he ripped it off of the TV stand.
Did you later pass out?
Like he usually does.
What's he drinking then?
I don't know. Vodka and something, I'm sure.
I'm showing you identification N. If you recognize that.
It's my living room in the stairwell.
All right, were those, was that a photograph taken by a crime scene?
Correct.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of your living room and stairwell?
Yes.
And let's try to introduce this as identification 9 as an exhibit.
Yeah, I saw the ashtray. She said there was no smoking in the
Pre-marked
house.
as M, correct?
So there's the bullshit.
N, I apologize. What was pre-marked as N will be received into evidence without objection as defendants 15.
The pumpkin is courtesy of our former producer, may he rest in peace, Joshua. Passed away on 11/11 last year. But he did this, so I'm keeping it, and we're going to use it every year.
Can you tell us a little bit about this room?
This is my living room. This wall that we have over here with the hearts, that's where we would display all of our artwork. We were in the process of taking it down to add more, so he could continue to be entertained. The bookshelf over here is my son's bookshelf with all of his toys and little guns and musical instruments. He's Got a little karaoke machine down here, his guitar. Yes, this is me sitting on the back porch with my dogs. And as you can see that we are both drinking.
All right, who's taking the picture?
I'm guessing George's, or maybe it's one that Lucas.
Trust me, we didn't miss much.
It had to be George,
Mhm.
Oh, y'all were drinking?
because there's a cup here and then he has a beer.
And there's two dogs. There's one sitting next to you. Who's that?
That's Penny. She's the blind dog. I used to have to pick her up to put her somewhere so she would stay there because she was unfamiliar with the area, especially since we moved from my marital home to the townhome. So most of the time Penny would be close or next to me.
Who's next to the film?
This is little guard dog Tess. She was the deaf dog. And this is the fence here.
Well, I'll show them.
Okay, but this is Tess, and then this is deaf, blind. Penny and Tess.
All right, and then the second one. All right. Can you describe this for the jury?
This is again is our back porch, and this is the fence that I made for the dogs to have a little bit extra space. Penny is next to me. She's the blind dog, and then Tess is down here at guarding the gate.
Are these fake rabbits? Is that?
Yes. I used to call my son when he was a baby. He was my bunny rabbit.
Overruled.
He was my bunny rabbit, so I used to collect bunny rabbits, and so I have rabbits here and there throughout my house and in my little garden area.
All right, this is the alcohol y'all are consuming?
Yes.
And this is a close-up of which one?
This is Tess. She's the deaf dog.
How old were these dogs at that time, 2020?
Gosh, maybe 9, maybe 10.
What is the relevance of any of this?
It's a waste of time. It's really ridiculous. Look,
Yes.
Jess is saying, what does this matter? I've seen about 15 comments like this. You know, what's the relevant?
Yeah. I mean, the prosecution should be objecting. I know he just got overruled, but he should be just objecting.
Yeah, it's this is such a waste of time, and it's such it's just so ridiculous. Like let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. Bring on the prosecutor and let him cross her, because this is enough. He's laid the foundation down, and to say to the jury that she was a battered woman, I call bullshit. But you know, there's no doubt that this was a volatile relationship. But I feel she was probably the prime aggressor. Somebody in the chat said George's family said that none of his past relations ever complained of him being a domestic violence abuser. So I don't know. I mean, it just something doesn't bode right with this. And I am not one to believe somebody like this. And she just reeks deception, and the eye blinking and all of her body language. And I'm sure Dr. G explains is going to go over her testimony here in the future, but I don't know. I call BS.
All right, members of the jury, it's 4:03. By show of hands, would you like to take an afternoon break at this point in time? Okay, court sees no hands.
This guy sounds like me. By a show of
We
hands.
may have to work also a little bit past 5 o'clock, maybe going between 5:45 and 6 this evening. I know juror third from the right, you may have to make a phone call as to that. Does anyone have any concerns about working a little bit later today till 6 o'clock? If you have those concerns, please raise your hand at this time. All right, court sees no hands. Ma'am, are you in a position to step out to see if you can get assistance with childcare, or is that not an option for today?
I'm actually all set for today. She's already taken them.
You are? Okay. All right. Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. With that, Mr. Owens, you may continue.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I think one of the jurors raised their hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, juror fifth from the right.
Are we gonna get a break before the 5:45 mark? Because if not, then yes, I would like a break.
Then I tell you what, let's go ahead and take it at this time. We'll give you all a 15-minute recess. It's 4:04. Hang on. Don't leave yet. I got to tell you a couple things. It's 4:04. We'll see you back here at 4:20. Same instruction as before. Please don't conduct any independent investigation or research as the person, places, things, or charge involved.
Jurors are
Don't have
running
any
out.
discussions amongst yourselves or anyone else. We'll see you.
These jurors were wanting to run out of that room, like they've had enough, and that's a
Well,
telltale sign.
Well, originally they said no hands popped up that they wanted a break.
Right.
They wanted to continue.
But the one woman was discounted. He didn't see her, and then they pointed her out. He was like, "Okay, all right, one person wants to go. We're going to take a break. Come back." Look, this is going to go to past 5 o'clock. I think there's going to be a lot more that we're going to hear from, but I don't think the cross-examination, we're going to get to it today. It's going to be tomorrow. And if that's the case, it'll be tomorrow in the morning. And we certainly will cover it. I mean, I had a power surge here, so that's why we were in the position that we were in. Thank you for eating up that time, Ed. So they're going for a break now. Let's go to the chat. How many people have some questions? Bless you, Ed. Let me put us on the right path right here. So the power is back up, but we're on generator power, so I could lose it again. And let's go to the chat. Thank you to everyone who's given super chats. We got a whole bunch of buy me cups of coffee. I want to highlight some of these super chats. Barbara Ann Breen, the Mod Squad. She says, DutyRon, you're the best to kiss from JSP. Jumpsuit Pablo, the Kiosk Club. Thank you. Schmitty was throwing her pocketbook at us, Ed. She sent $5. She said she's off to an assignment. See you all tomorrow when they start where they left off. No verdict today. No. They didn't even – the state rested, but the defense is still going on and on. Ed, thank you for being here. Matt Bradford, $5. Oh, my God. I just turned this on. I thought you were talking – I thought you talking was the lawyer when I was saying bullshit. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Sherry Elbling, thank you for the super sticker. Kathleen, she's stepped out but sent a bunch of super chats. Thank you. She said, don't worry, Jays will destroy her on cross. She's talking about the state, William J. That's the prosecuting attorney. And Ed, we saw him on the stairs with the state prosecutor in Stephen Stearns. Remember when they were announcing his charges? That was the prosecutor up in the news conference. Lexi, thank you for putting the buy me a cup of coffee in the chat. There it is. Oh, no. Chris, thank you for the super chat. They both have DV charges, so it's going to be to incriminate her if they pull her records too. Let's see what happens. That remains to be seen. Thinking for myself. Thank you, Ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the prosecutor can bring in rebuttal witnesses after this testimony. Like you can get all of his former girlfriends to come in and testify that they never had domestic violence with him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the chat. Anybody have any questions? Jess has been here the whole time. She says, "You're all awesome, DutyRon and Ed. Thanks for your streaming." Well, we're happy to do it. It's a pleasure. So Donna says, DutyRon, what's up with your power? I'm at my office, so this is a commercial building, and sometimes we get power surges, and that's all it took for the internet to go down. The generator kicked back on, but the internet, it took a while for everything to reset itself. So I heard the walkie-talkies going, and shipping was like, oh, we have no internet, because everything, of course, is computer-driven here. Yeah, Ed, so again, your thoughts. We're all a bit confused about the defense's approach here, but it's clear and evident that Sarah Boone's defense is going to weigh heavy on the battered woman syndrome, and they're trying to lay down the foundation for it here with this lengthy back and forth. A lot of this stuff, people are like, well, come on, let's just get on with it. He's laying out his case here, and sometimes, as you know, defense attorneys like to dot their I's and cross their T's. Your thoughts a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, again, the prosecution will have a chance to bring rebuttal witnesses back in, including detectives and police officers, their body cam footage, the officers that interviewed her, the detectives that interviewed her. Did she ever make these claims? Initially, did she make any of these claims to you about domestic violence or any of this in the initial reporting when she called 911 and all this other things?
Right.
And all of that is fair game now.
Yeah, Lucretia says some men feel too ashamed to admit that they're victims of domestic violence. You know, I kept putting it in the chat. George Torres Jr., 5'2", 103 pounds, soaking wet. He is not, somebody that's of huge stature. You know, he's a small guy, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't inflict violence onto somebody. But come with the proof. Show us that he has a propensity for violence. Show us some of the stuff in the past. It seems like to me that the two of them were drinkers. They both drank together, and it wasn't all things weren't honky dory.
It was a toxic relationship.
Right. Yeah. And they both fed off of their toxic nature. But we have the advantage of seeing that footage, that recorded footage by herself. She did it herself. She opened up her camera. We heard the testimony. She started her iPhone up, purposely videotaped him. And, that's her undoing in this case, in my opinion. That coupled with all of the forensic evidence we heard from the medical examiner, crime scene unit, the investigators, all of the cell phone records. So to me, I feel like they do have a sound case, but now I worry. I worry about what's to come here. So we're going to have to listen more and see what's happening. But the evidence shows that she purposely left him in that suitcase. She mocked him. When he was saying her name, she was like, "That's my name. Don't wear it out." She was playing child games with him, and she hit him with a baseball bat, to name a few things. So let's see what happens. Ed, I appreciate you taking out, 3 hours and 9 minutes. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back at it tomorrow. Sarah Boone back up on the stand. She's gonna. This defense is going to probably take to the rest of the day, and then we'll have the cross-examination tomorrow from the district attorney. So thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting. And Ed and I love and appreciate all of your commentary. Leave us comments down below. The live chatters, we had a lot of fun with the live chat. Listen, it's all good to do, to have fun during these some of this boring testimony, but we always have to think of the victims' families. George has 2 daughters and a son. George Torres Jr. He left behind 2 daughters and a son. I went and read his obituary. So let's send out prayers and positive vibes to his family, the victim's family. They have to hear this nonsense, and it's so sad. When you think about them, they're the ones that are left behind with the broken hearts. Ed, final words?
Well, thank you folks for being here, and thanks for sharing your time with us as well. And always be safe, be prepared, and watch your 6.
Thank you, guys, and good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're watching. Let's go to the cop team, Kara, Oscar, and Popeye, if I can find them. Again, I'm on my laptop, so I apologize. I'm not in the studio. Take care, guys. Thanks for joining.
All right.